These were all just, yeah. I had never seen
I'm
that
like,
before. That was-
Fashionable and yet festive.
Well, plus they fall down and they bags go over their head. That's not a good idea.
There's a good meme about that, but I'm gonna leave that alone.
Okay, well, it's 8:30. So good morning, welcome to the March 9th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any public comments? State your name.
I'm Carl Treese, and I'm a precinct committeeman out in Ogden. And my objective was, when I started that, was to find a thing that would make the community better. And that's kind of on the verges of it. And I wanted to bring you up to date, and I've been into and talked to you before about this. But the league, the Daughters of the American Revolution has told me that they would like to help with that. And I have pledges of $500 if we go through with this. And I've been to the city council and brought him up to date as a courtesy. And what I need from you at this point, they're jumping at bits wanting to get started on something out there. And I told him I needed to come to you and get at least two of you that approve that. And I talked to Rob Eichmann, and he said he would help with that. And he's got all that machinery out there now, and I don't know what he is envisioning until I get more involved with him. He said to call him and he'd meet me out there and we can go over all the stuff that we want to do. And I'm fine with, if you decide to do that, doing it in stages. Little a stage at a time, and until you get it to where you want it. And we're not doing that for the adults in the community, we're doing it for the youth. We're not going to be around. And so the youth needs to have history brought to their attention and so forth. And we're working on that and trying to get that going. And maybe you've been around longer than I have. And the old Benton School Road, it used to go off of Wildcat Creek Road up there at the curve almost. And in back of the homeowners edition. And that would have let us have egress on all the fingers of that pointed out toward that road. And I don't know if that's possible to open that back up and give the people that live there another way of going out of the subdivision. But anyway, what I need from you at this point is, I think if I'm right about that, that two of you have to approve it. And I'm hoping that all three of you will see the benefit of having something out there that people can stop and look at. And I've been researching the high points of the area. And one of the highest points in Kansas, it's right up here across that valley. And you're looking at it, it sticks up like a sore thumb, and it's like that. And if I don't know how to hold them back, they want to get started doing something out there. I just told well, we can't do that until the commissioners approve that, and that seems to help a little bit. But he has the sign in mind that is telling some of the background of Ogden. And I envision Ogden as being a really historic town. And there's a lot of things there. In fact, up on the hill in the Protestant cemetery is the fellow that outshot Bill Hickok. And there's no, neither of them, or both of them, may have been drunk when they were doing that. Anyway, the other thing is, there were a couple of breweries out there in that town, and they had caves in the back of that hill. And they stored the booze in there and put it out that way. And it's too bad that the old railroad location got dismantled, because that would have been a good viewpoint, because the cowboys brought their cattle in there and stored them in pens down there by the railroad. And they shipped them off to Chicago and other places like that. And I don't know if you have any questions about it before you make a decision, but it would help me a little bit if we knew whether we're going to do it or not.
Can you explain what it is again?
On the old Highway 40 used to be 4 lanes going up that hill. And they did it, they cut it down to 2 lanes. And there's a good lot of land that goes down over that hill, and you can't farm it. There's not enough land there to farm it and make very much money. And I talked to the engineer up at KDOT, and he turned it over to you to do with whatever you want. And Rob Eichmann says that he'll help with that. So I don't know if we want to have a hiking trail up that hill and then back down. And I took my tractor down and mowed it a time or two. And then we need to put some posts up there and put the cable through the posts so that people won't run off that hill, because that's quite a ride down that hill. Anyway, I have people lined up that are wanting to help with that.
So do you have this is gonna be, it's gonna be like a park then, basically.
Well, kind of. There's not enough room to do what they did out on 77. Out on 77, I've been out there and you can see down, but you can't see all the stuff that you can see out there.
So is this a park, or is this gonna be an overlook, or
An overlook. It's
an overlook?
I would like to have a walking trail so that if people want to go out there and walk up the hill and back, they got some exercise in there, but it could be a little park. There's not enough land to be a big park. And it would be interesting to have some input from you folks as to what you really would like to see out there. And I'm not an architect. I was a biology teacher for 37 years, and I'm not an architect, so I am having trouble finding somebody to sketch out what we want. And I can envision kind of what we want and maybe make a rough drawing. But do you have any other questions that I might be able to answer?
Well, so this is county property, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they've turned it over to you.
The
State did
railroad
when they
has.
did the K-18
Do we know exactly
realignment.
which part, I probably need to see a
Do
map.
you know which part he's talking about? He's been in before, and I think John is familiar with the area.
If it's the area I'm thinking about, it's that, on Skyway on top of the hill, basically. Top of the hill across the street from where MCM's building.
Right.
Taking care.
I
And
was-
we have, it looks like, I didn't stop to get out measuring, but it looks like 50-60 feet of. Right away to the edge of the hill, I mean, of open grass there, there may be something in there to put a. Horseshoe type drive in there with some parking stalls on.
We have to get them off the road so that they didn't get hit if they park there.
Think we need to probably maybe look at that a little bit more depth first and just make sure our bases are covered on that. And is there any liability issues with that, Clancy? At this point?
Always.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, I see you've gotten down some notes there, so.
It isn't anything.
Well, it wasn't on this.
Yeah, that's showing.
I don't
There.
Hmm.
I think we need to pinpoint where exactly that's at, and
This.
Well, I
we don't have a specific drawing in mind. We need some configuration.
Is it
so we
county
can make
right
sure
away though?
We're covered. I don't
Doesn't say.
have a problem with it necessarily. I just need to make sure our T's are crossed and
GIS,
the
it looks like.
I's are dotted.
Like it's county right away? Yeah, it's county right away.
I've not researched
It's not
it, but
like property that's.
GIS looks like it's right away, and it's pretty wide.
If we was to get with you, could you guys kind of
of
look at it and talk about it, and then maybe come back with the car and
That's how.
do it officially?
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't know if the other two commissioners heard that, but that's what I would suggest too, is have John and maybe his parks guy or whatever, take a look at it and come back to the board and say what could or
It's a little bit of
couldn't
a
be done.
drawing for exactly.
And if there is interest by the board, it sounds like maybe a private contractor is willing to do the work.
Right.
I'm fine with
But
that.
there's always the liability side that Clancy's gotta
Right.
educate you on as
well,
well.
that's the reason, and I think the first thing we ought to do is to put some heavy posts there, and put cable through the post so that people move on that hill.
I would suggest working with John at this point in time and kind of figuring out where we're at exactly, and we'll
Maybe, John, you can give me your name.
Got you covered.
Anyway,
appreciate it.
uh,
From what I've heard so far, I don't have issue with it as long as, like I said,
well,
everything's
I know
covered.
about the liability part of it, and that would be the reason for starting with posts and cable along that hill, so that people don't run off that hill. But we need to get them off the road too. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any problem with it, but I'd like to see something in writing.
Fine, not just a random.
And we need to go through our,
Something.
yeah, we need to go through our normal process with that as we normally would need to, but I don't
We
know.
may have somebody on staff.
He does. Yeah, he does.
I'm sure he does.
I'm not sure, want to be sure we have clear consensus of the board. I kind of wrote the board as consensus for Ellen to work with trees to bring back a report on a potential scenic overlook and walking trail near Skyway Drive.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like that.
that's good.
Yep, like that. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Carl.
Any other public comments? No, okay, so we'll go to commission comments. Start with Commissioner McKinley.
After our meeting Monday, I met with the appraiser Anna Burton. I had questions and clarifications from residents about recent evaluations, but I had a couple of comments. And got a lot of stuff cleared up, like I say, relayed information back to people that were not. And then in particular, there was a large landowner in North County, which we discussed yesterday, that there was a lot of misinformation about that was out there, and cleared it up. Got back with them. And then also just talked about in general, what, her department in general, how things are going. And then later I had a conference, I had my note that I called Clancy about some stuff, but I don't even remember what it was. That was more than a day ago.
He doesn't remember.
Maybe I do, and maybe I don't.
And then Tuesday was the pre-bid meeting here for the fire station. Three bidders present, and two more that were on Zoom. So we're getting good coverage on it. That's good. Tuesday evening, attended the Leonardville City Council. I told them at our meetings and the small towns coming up and that we're gonna have this year. And asking what they want to see from it, get back with us if there's anything particular they want to hear about. And they're also working on setting up a municipal court. Riley's getting theirs in line and Leonardville's working on one too. And then the new North County Sergeant, Pat T was there being introduced. They're taking around the meetings. And then basically on Wednesday evening, I got the same report from when I went to Randolph and gave the same basic report, and Officer T was there. They're actually asking, what does it take to get a municipal court? So, so they're interested in too. Randolph's City Council, so it's always a fun meeting. They're a lively group.
They are.
And then
personality.
yeah, it is. It's a large difference between them and Leonardville. Leonardville's very quiet, and this one is not quiet. Wednesday during the day then was the township officials meeting. A lot of good discussions. Talked about the different county and township road systems and pluses and minuses, the different options, and were able to relay some of the problems, let them, I think they didn't want to aware of some of the problems that were going on. I think we got a few people's attention anyway. And that was it.
Commissioner Ford?
I actually thought this was gonna be somewhat of a mildly calm week. I gave up thinking. Monday afternoon, I met with Corey Meyer, Riley County IT Director, to discuss a handful of items, including, of course, our ongoing rural broadband efforts, which we're making really good and considerable progress on. Some of his personal challenges in terms of staff in the office, still trying to get that IT technician's position open after having many other ones open. I don't think he's been at full strength since he took over.
Yeah,
So
I
he's been
agree.
down
I
at
think
least
so.
one position the entire
Briefly,
time.
and then didn't.
Yeah. So I also discussed with him some potential technological upgrades here in the chamber and with the live stream. I think we're kind of probably getting to that point. I think he's going to come back. They've been talking about it. He's going to come back with some ideas and thoughts down the road. So just giving you a heads up on that. And use of some potential other technologies throughout the county as well, including the hopefully soon to be new public safety headquarters when we finally comes up out of the ground and we get it done. Certainly appreciated the time discussing these items. I think it's kind of important considering kind of where we're at here early in the year of 2023. Also Monday afternoon, I met with Gary Fike, K-State Research and Extension Director, chat about last week's fairground discussion that we had last Monday, provide some insight on the task force. I don't know about you guys, but I've had about a half a dozen people reach out in regards to that. So there's a lot of interest, which is, I guess, is good. And that task force, of course, will help develop, continue that dialogue that's we've kind of been having primitively over the last year. Thought this was important just because it did come up so quickly on the radar, and we needed to understand where everybody's kind of at internally at this point in time, including the fair board and the extension department at this particular point in time as well. Also on Monday, I met with Amanda Webb, Riley County Planning Director, to chat about some thoughts and ideas in reference to the upcoming update to the county's comprehensive plan. Discuss along with that some of our master plans that we have, including the downtown facilities and Parks and Rec master plan that was, it's all outdated. Let's just be honest with it at this point in time. So can we incorporate bits and pieces of that that'll help us redevelop those plans, or how will all that kind of work and play out is basically part of the discussion. I know she's on the agenda today to talk about the environmental health specialist position. I offered some thoughts on that. I don't know where that will go, as well as just personnel challenges as a whole. Also chatted briefly to get some insights from her department on SB 162. I know that's directly attached to her department. That's the Riley County Nuisance Abatement Act that's currently in the Kansas Senate. As you're aware, I'm not going to have any movement this year, but I'm pretty confident that we can get that done and passed and through next year through a series of.
I think we get it heard next year.
Yeah.
There's always a question. I'm not trying to be a pessimist here, but the key is that it's alive.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been sent into that limbo world where it just dies in committee. That
right
apparently
there.
has not happened.
I think it gives us time to put some things behind it to
Yeah.
get it passed.
Yeah.
I guess that's where
We can
I'm
build
trying to go with
support
that,
for it in the legislature.
but nonetheless, glad we had a chance to catch up. We actually had that meeting scheduled in early February and things didn't work out, so we had to reschedule. Yesterday, I too attended the annual township meeting held at Potroff Hall. Thought it was a pretty good turnout. Appreciate everybody from Public Works, Noxious Weed Department, everybody from the county who helped make the meeting run smoothly and help sponsor the event as well. Think it's important to have this particular meeting at this point in time and the quality discussions with local rural leaders who, much like us, have to engage their communities as well as their neighbors on the handful of issues and challenges that we face. I thought the dialogue during the meeting went very well and gave some quality insight as to where we are here in Riley County in real time. So I think it was important to go through that. Also yesterday, had our virtual monthly meeting via Microsoft Teams with the National Association of Counties Community Economic and Workforce Development Committee. Kind of a follow-up to the policy conference that was in DC last month. After some opening remarks, our chair, Martha Schrader, commissioner from Clackamas County, Oregon, opened the floor up to Grace Blanchard, program manager for resilient economies and communities. That title just doesn't flow off the tongue real well, but she's also with the National Association of Counties. She discussed the BRECC National Network. It's a virtual learning series that can be used to help inform and educate local units of government and citizens on local items in many different areas. We also heard from Kevin Schroeder. He's the senior analyst and economic and government studies director for the National Association of Counties. He's working closely with NACO on developing a housing task force, and they've been working on that for quite some time, and it's a very, very slow process apparently, but they are moving forward with some things, and we'll just have to see where that goes. And then lastly, we heard from Michael Matthews, our legislative director for the committee. He gave us a legislative update from Capitol Hill. Nothing's really deviated from anything anybody's really hearing at this particular point in time, but and then we had an open dialogue from the commissioners around the country on some of the hot topic items, and kind of summarize some of our observations and thoughts from last month's policy conference that was in Washington, DC. And lastly, I wanted to give a shout out this morning to Harris County, Texas Commissioner Adrian Garcia, who sent me a very, very nice letter and some encouraging words and thoughts. He's a gentleman that I met at the policy conference last month, and seems like a very, very good guy. And so I mentioned this just because, we spend an extraordinary amount of money to go to those conferences, and there was a time or two where you just can't really put a dollar amount on, the importance of networking and having these dialogues and conversations with fellow commissioners and county officials from around the country, whether it's a big county like Harris County, which I think is fourth largest county in the country, to go to O'Reilly County, which probably doesn't match up in the top 500, but still have to have those dialogues and conversations, and they face the same set of issues that we do for the most part as well. So I enjoyed meeting him and many of his staff and other people from across the country last month as well. That's kind of what you get out of that sometimes. So with that, that's all I got.
Okay. Well, this week for me was kind of different. Had a lot of stuff going on at my church, like nominating new people and trying to keep the meals together and all that. I had two major appointments scheduled that I had scheduled were canceled at the last minute, so I had to kind of regroup and figure out what's going on. But did talk to a lot of people various people about the appraisal. It seems to be a hot topic.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that back and forth on it. I'm really really see her today for a brief time. Maybe she might want to go on in focus next week to kind of talk about things. I have to see if she wants to. Yeah, because I'll be on there on Tuesday. Yeah.
Expect some phone calls.
I'm sure we will, especially two. Let's say, met with several constituents. Had a cup of coffee with a couple of them to talk about appraisals and different things going on in the area. I too went to the township meeting yesterday, which was my second one that I've been to since being on the commission, and I thought the information given out on KDOT was pretty interesting on what they're going to be doing upcoming, and also the discussion about the county road systems between the county and the townships, whether it's going to be taken over by the county or the townships, and that was kind of left up in the air. So we'll see what happens, and kind of looking at both sides of it to see what might be an issue. So let's see. Last night, had bell practice and Lenten service. So Wednesdays are always starting up with that about 8 o'clock, and just doing a lot of stuff around the house to get ready. My daughter's coming to town tomorrow, so she'll be here for a while, so trying to clean up everything organized. So, but that's it for me. So let's move on to our business meeting.
Sounds good. First item, I need a motion to approve low bid submitted by Schultz Construction for the North County EMS Station Project in the amount of $799,000.
I have one question, and I should have brought it up the other day. That generator, that's a backup generator. So that won't delay the start of the project.
Correct.
Okay, that was,
And it really shouldn't. Do the same thing on the big building as well, right? You know,
It'd probably be delayed too, maybe that one takes a little longer, it might, as we get going, once they figure out size, we could.
Okay.
It could probably be one of those pre-order things.
Okay.
In order, yeah.
okay, I was just kind of concerned about that. There was on a couple of those bids.
I mean, the building can be brought up, constructed, moved into and worked as long as we have power.
Mhm,
And the generator can be put in time.
okay,
if you lose power in between there, we'll just put you on a bike and you can pedal and generate.
That's probably about the only way I'm gonna get that exercise. I need.
Well, that's not the response I was expecting.
Faster, John, faster.
Yeah.
The data's on all his computers and his lights on.
okay, so we see that we have a recommendation from staff for Gulf construction.
Mhm.
And other discussion.
No, I kind of falls about right into where I kind of figured it would. It'll probably. I don't know, might go over a little bit, probably by the time we get through with it. Couple, I don't know.
So the
20-25 minutes.
architectural fees are separate from this.
Yeah.
Correct.
And do we have a lot more of that that's gonna come up or?
Probably shouldn't be a whole lot other than some of their
final billing.
monthly inspections and meetings, progress meetings on the job.
Okay,
And of course, we're gonna have to outfit it, so, we've got some equipment, but, tables, chairs, beds, desks, that sort of thing is still. Have to be added to that, so it's about what I figured, so. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the low bid from Schultz Construction in the amount of $799,000.
I'll second.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the low bid for the North County ambulance from Schultz Construction in the amount of $799,000. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The commissioners need a motion for the plaza reservation request for downtown Manhattan Inc. for Kansas Science Fest downtown Manhattan Inc. on Saturday, April 29th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. with no loudspeakers.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve the plaza reservation request for downtown Manhattan Inc.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the plaza reservation request for downtown Manhattan for April 29th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair sign, please.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, goes fast.
Daylight savings time is this.
Yeah, this weekend, that's correct. Next, I need a motion to approve the Riley County Shared Leave Request Form.
Go ahead and make a motion to approve the Riley County shared leave request form, excuse me.
I'll second.
So moved and seconded to approve Raleigh County Shared Leave request form. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All three sign, please. Next commissioner, the Raleigh County Personnel Action Forms, Sarah Dorson, a new hire as needed clerk in the planning development department, and then Andrew Theodore Gerard, a new hire as needed security officer, public works department. Please sign. Commissioners, have any topics for the city county meetings?
Well, we had the one,
That's what you got on there.
do they haven't given us theirs. Well, how long is it gonna be there?
Yeah, I think they will be on that topic. Yeah, that's fine.
No problem, take 4 hours.
And then some.
As long as we want, but I think. As long as we don't want.
Yes.
When you're done signing, commissioners, it's time for Mr. Cox on the animal control.
So we need to approve payroll.
Well, we do, we can delay that, but I think Craig might need some time. We can catch up later on payroll minutes. That's okay with the board, but it's whatever. This discussion might take a little while.
Yeah.
On your business, or you want to pray, commissioners?
We've only got one thing left, is
Well,
payroll.
We got several.
I'll move to approve the payroll accounts payable.
That way
I'll
we
second.
can-
So she
Yeah,
can
it's
go
been
ahead
moved
and go
and
out.
seconded to approve payroll of accounts payable. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fine. We'll catch up with the rest of the business after. Commissioners.
Thank you. And if you don't have enough pages, don't have to go over it.
Good morning, Commissioners. Craig Cox, Deputy Raleigh County Counselor. I'm here this morning to talk to you about Raleigh County Animal Control. Before we get into specifics, though, I just want to give you a little history of where this project comes from. The sheet I handed out this morning is the committee we put together to work on this project. If you look at the names and the titles, we had quite a good diversity of shareholders in the county. We had the animal shelter director, we had somebody from the city, RCBD, the county attorney's office, any number of individuals from Raleigh County. We had 3 farmers. The 2 individuals that we don't have a title to, they were residential owners in the county. So we thought we had an adequate representation of all the various interests in animal control. We started this project in September of 2008. The last committee meeting that we had was on November 11th, 2009. By that time, we generated the document that was before you. Since that time, there's been some minor edits to that document. You may want to know why it took from 2009 to now to get to you. And I will tell you that our last meeting was November 11th, 2009. In January of 2010, the county became involved in a major Chapter 11 bankruptcy. That's a business reorganization bankruptcy that involved a property owner over in Ogden that had a substantially large mobile home park that had what I called numerous dead mobile homes. And the case was of significant interest and an issue to Greg McKenna, the appraiser at the time, because the county was carrying all those mobile homes as taxable, and nobody was paying any taxes, and it was really quite a substantial problem and issue for Mr. McHenry. And when a bankruptcy gets filed, there's a certain timetable you have to meet that's imposed by the bankruptcy code. And I had to do some research, get some documents filed. The bankruptcy was held down in Wichita, traveled down there 5 or 6 times. And so that project took me away from this project, and the bankruptcy probably lasted about off and on probably for about a year. I will say that we were very successful. We had someone buy all the dead mobile homes, and we got them off the tax rolls for the county. And Mr. McHenry was very pleased with that. And it was always my intent to get back to this project and to finish it up. And something else will always come along, and so this is the right time, the right place now to finish this project. So that's the history. The other thing I want to say is quite obvious from the card that I gave you that the current 1988 resolution is a four-page document with 12 sections. What I have in front of you this morning is a 22-page document with 27 sections. And not that, well, I mean, in that list of the committee, I was the only attorney on there. And so we just had to deal with current issues that have developed since 1988. And it just takes some time and some verbiage to get all those issues properly dealt with. The thing that this committee did, and what the proposed document in front of you is that we decided to try to mirror the city animal control ordinance as much as we could. We thought that would be very beneficial to the animal control officers, and that way they didn't have to know or understand two separate, distinct procedures. And so we worked hard, and the document in front of you does mirror, in most cases, the city resolution, the city animal control policy. Though there are some differences, and I thought the best way to review this document today as an overall review is just to give you the policy set out in this document, the differences in our policies, the few differences we have with the city, and then we can go from there. If we need another time for me to come down and get into some detail on a specific section or article, we can do that. So I'm just going to go through again where we differ, though we're mostly the same. Our ordinance only deals with cats and dogs, but mostly dogs. We do make reference to cats. Cats have to be vaccinated. I mean, that's usually done as when they come into the animal control center, the animal shelter. If they're not vaccinated, then they're required to get vaccinated. But really, the only regulation of cats in our ordinance is their vaccination. The city actually requires tags for cats. We do not. We just require tags for dogs. The big major difference between the city and us, if you're looking at my table of contents, is Article 4, dangerous or potentially dangerous dogs. I'm really just going to talk from my table of contents this morning. And so the big difference there is that we have two categories of dogs as set forth here. A dangerous dog is a dog that has caused a serious injury, and a potentially dangerous dog is a dog who's caused something less than a serious injury. And we define serious injury as a dog that causes a dog attack, a dog instance that causes broken bones or a serious laceration, which requires multiple sutures. And then a potentially dangerous dog is one who causes any kind of injury less than that definition. In both categories, if animal control picks up dog where it's either a very serious injury or less than a very serious injury, then there's a whole procedure laid out in the document. The dog actually has his right to a day in court. And if the dog then is adjudicated either dangerous or potentially dangerous, there's requirements they have to meet. Obviously, if it's a dangerous dog, there are more requirements, more severe. And there's also owner requirements for an owner. If you have a dangerous dog, you're mandated to carry a liability insurance policy up to $100,000. And you have to have a certain kind of cage form that's kind of like a very 12 inches deep, the foundation, and has to be real secured, and there's requirements for chains, and I mean, if they're out and about, and a muzzle and all that. But it's not quite as complicated for potentially dangerous dog, but that's how we deal with the dangerous dog situation. What the city did is they have a dangerous dog, and that's all they have. But part of their dangerous dog ordinance is they have a list of 12 breeds that are highly suspect as being potentially dangerous. And if you own one of those breeds, then within the city code, you have to do certain things because you own that breed, even though that dog may never have attacked anybody. They've identified certain breeds, and the breeds they've identified is American Pit Bull Terrier, American Staffordshire Terrier, Argentine Doggo, Cane Corso Chow. This was like a French name, Degout de Bordeaux, Doberman Pinscher, Fila, Brasilio, German Shepherd, Pero di Presi Cano, Rottweiler, Staffordshire Bull Terrier.
What was that French one again?
That's a mix of those breeds in there. I'm sorry. But anyway, we had quite a discussion on our committee
Oh, okay.
whether we wanted to go that route or not. And as you will see on that list, we actually had the animal control director, Lynn Schumacher, with us, and she was very adamant that we do not go any kind of breed recognition procedure.
Yeah.
Subsequent to this, I went to I won a drawing at the county council meeting one time. I got to go to the International Lawyers Association meeting. And I actually attended a presentation by animal advocate groups, and the literature out there is really contrary to trying to identify dogs by breed. And the test they showed us that day was all these dogs, when we picked out a Rottweiler and this and that, come to find out that wasn't a Rottweiler. And so, looks can be deceiving. And so that's the issue with that. So we decided instead, what Lynn Schumacher proposed, that we go with behavior. And so that's what we set up here, is behavior. And so that's why we have the distinction between dangerous dog and potentially dangerous dog. And I'll say, if you want me to come back and we can go in detail, the requirements to have either one of those is just very detailed and really does protect the safety of the public.
I would probably say, since this is the item on the topic for the city county meeting, that you may be available for that, to do just that.
I'm going to cover that meeting.
Okay.
And I wanted to say something in the beginning I forgot, is that I've looked at their meeting materials and what the city's doing right now, and this is just my opinion. It seems to me that what they're looking at is the management and operation and maintenance of the animal shelter, and really our dog policy, our dog doesn't relate to that in any shape, way, or form. They're looking at who's going to pay them, who's going to maintain the building, who's going to be in charge of them. It's all animal shelter. I mean, obviously, our policy affects the animal shelter because under our policy, any dog picked up goes to the animal shelter. And of course, we make a contribution to the animal shelter on a yearly basis. But no, Commissioner Ford, I'll be there for that meeting. Yeah, you bet.
Now, the city has their, you're saying the city has their own policies and their own definitions, and it doesn't necessarily agree with ours.
No, I mean, really, we agree even definitions. I mean, we do, I mean, we do have we have a dog at large. That's what we hear about a lot out in the rural areas, in rural subdivisions, some dogs running around and scaring the kids and stuff. And so our dog at large is the same as the dog at large in the city. The city does have an additional dog at large. They have an aggressive dog at large, and that's one where the dog actually truly scares somebody, either growls or lunges or that sort of thing. We don't have that distinction. That would probably really come under our definition of potentially dangerous dog. This is kind of an interesting thing in that we both have a list. Both county and city have a list, what we call exotic animals. They call dangerous animals, and
Yeah, I'd like to see the person
and
takes on a hippopotamus or a
this
rhinoceros.
is the list I call the list of lions, tigers, and bears.
Oh, my.
You know, and the only place where we differ between the city and us on this exotic animal list is that in their list they include bison, deer, and ostriches. And so our committee determined that those are really animals that bison can be raised out in the county. Nobody can control the deer out in the county, you know, and ostriches can be a farm animal too. So we eliminated those animals from our exotic list. But what we did include that the city doesn't have is we have hybridized cats that have been hybridized with wild felines. So if you have kind of a cat crossbreed with a bobcat, you know, that's going to be an exotic animal at all parts. So
How about reptiles and amphibians?
and that's in that list.
That's
We
in
got
that list, too.
crocodiles, amphibians, you know, monkeys, baboons, you know. So the list goes on for like about 30 animals. But we in the city agree on that part.
Okay.
We thought the bison, deer, and ostriches
Bison,
were county creatures and shouldn't be considered to be exotic. Now, I will say additionally, where the city has some things that we don't have within the city. You can't have livestock. You can't have what's called fowl at large, but that does not include chickens. Chickens are allowed in the city, but again,
Not roosters.
but those chickens,
Not roosters aren't allowed.
I know.
yeah,
That's
but
what I'm trying to.
but the chickens can become fowl at large if they're out running loose.
They're running loose.
Yeah, and then also they don't permit
Okay.
hogs or stockyards, and so we don't have any of that at all. Because, you know, that's livestock and hogs and stuff.
Okay, neighbor
That's
and
what
I are
happens
gonna
out
have to have a
there.
conversation.
That's basically the differences between the county and the city. I say the major differences, we have a different classification for dangerous and dangerous dogs. Now, I will say the procedure that we use to adjudicate those dogs is the same. You know, the dog has their day in court and the procedure is the same, just that we go with dangerous potential and they go with dangerous, and then they have that suspect list of breeds. I will say that again, to be consistent and Rich will be glad to hear this for dog tags. We actually incorporated the city's fee schedule. So there's only one fee schedule that's going to apply between city and county. And I had staff get online and print off all the animal control, make sure there were any changes and for up to a year for A dog tag is $24, between 1 and 2, 48, between 2 and 3, 64. And then that's for unneutered. If your animal is neutered, then it's 6, 12, and 16.
Just about out of time. We got a bid opening 20.
Okay. So
Anybody get a dog tag?
that's the main difference. Is
No.
if you want to get in specifics of what we do, I can sure come back on it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to talk about the tag situation there. I don't think you're ever gonna win that battle on the county side.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Okay.
Do we even have anybody who's done that?
We used to have one individual would religiously come in. But
Yeah, Rich had someone that's
they
trying to
asked
do
for their
that.
dog pass
Yeah.
because they don't have any more.
Yeah. I think we're gonna really struggle on that one.
But also not listing breeds is good.
Yeah, I
Every
agree.
place it's happened.
Thank you.
You know, causes a lot of complaints. when
So
try
you
to
want me to set some time and come back and we can talk
Please.
about, maybe you can chat today and then have Clancy get back to me as to what issues you want me to come in.
Okay.
We can dig deeper into
I'll
that.
just say
Now, now
say it for
you
next week.
understand why I suggested a long amount of time for this, because I sat on these committees and this is a detailed, in-depth, lengthy process.
Yeah.
And it is directly related to what the city wants to do, because if they push the consolidation, RCP is gonna wanna know what's our policies.
And I was gonna take the approach that Amanda did, kind of give a broad overview and then come back and
Yeah.
and dig deeper into what you're interested in. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you, Craig. Time for bid opening, commissioners.
Okay. Great.
All right.
No, I'm on the subject here.
Which subject are we on?
Well, no, no, my laser pointer is gone.
That happened to mine too. I used to have one as well.
Huh.
Maybe they're together now. And those things are not cheap.
No, they're not.
Yeah, no. I've seen mine, Bob, and yeah, it's-
You
Not
looked,
guilty. I never had. one.
Oh,
I thought you looked last time and it was gone. Yeah, mine, every time I get one, it disappears. Someone finds out how nice they are.
does not make me
Cat's
happy.
crazy.
Yeah, it didn't make me happy. Mine happened either.
Okay, the first bid is from Candy Clip. This is for, Dr. Sweet Department, and concise tractor, 4-wheel drive, suspended axle, 16 by 16. The price is, $116,900.10.
the candy equipment, well, there you go. Price $116,909.10.
They're giving me lead time in there.
Oh, there is, I didn't see it. You see?
Gotta think that plays into the, no.
Yeah, the lead time on these are all going to be delayed. Last I knew that, it always was not at this time, it had been accepting orders.
Well, this one, though, it says. The quote says it's good until February 28th, 23.
Pass.
Oh, yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
So, so we don't know what the bid is now,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, the market can be challenging. I can't obviously speak for Ken and Cliff, but my guess is they're going to honor that number despite what it says, but I can't be confident of it.
They're the low bidder, staff will contact them and say, do you still honor this price? And if they don't, tell us, then it'll have to come back.
All right. Fair enough.
Pretty soon today. Either that or this isn't very sharp.
Careful.
I
I
know.
got wind under the chin
You
there.
aren't very sharp.
Okay, this is from Prairie Land Partners. John Deere 6120M, $111,500. Okay, they. Saving Wednesday.
This is Prairie Land Partners for John Deere. $111,500.
And just to be sure, that is the LLC one, because next one's Prairie Land, that's LLC two. Just be sure we got the right bids.
So that's what I wondered. Yeah, I don't know which ones. I saw that list.
Well, LLC 1 and 2.
Thank you.
The one that ought to get out of the way is Rick.
No.
No, that's, they always say, I mean, that's the more dangerous of any knife is dull. I mean, that's.
Commissioner McKinley put a tourniquet on your neck.
Just hold on to mine. I'd rather lose my hands in my throat.
You don't even have a laser pointer, you can fend it off.
I know.
Okay. Okay, this is from Prairie Land Partners, LLC 2. It also says Tim Kroll. It's an alternate bid for John Deere 6135E. Tractor price may vary from bid specs. $98,285.77. John Deere. I guess staff can determine what the difference is.
Without
I
tires.
figured it out.
They left more than $12,000.
This is that engine.
Yeah.
I figured the engine was there at that price, but tires, maybe not.
And this is another bit from Prairie Land Partners for an alternate model of the John Deere, $98,285.77.
Thank you.
And that's all that we got on the John Deere.
Correct.
And I will go ahead and make a motion that we send the bids back to staff for further analysis and recommendation.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to send the quotes on the John Deere tractor back to staff for recommendations. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Catch up on a little business real quick, commissioners.
Yeah, I didn't know if anybody had any changes to the minutes.
I did.
Okay, then I will go ahead and make a motion that we approve the minutes as written from the March 6th meeting of the Riley County Commission.
I'll second.
So moved and seconded to approve the minutes from March 6th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tentative agendas, okay, commissioners? Any items for next week's press conference?
I have none.
All of you want to attend Good Morning Manhattan, March 16th, 7:15 a.m.
Yep.
Gather?
Yeah, I have it.
Clancy?
No, thanks, Rich.
That's at this Fort Sheridan.
Yes. Next, it's time for Mr. Bowler.
Oh, yeah.
Roll commissioners.
Yeah.
Good morning, commissioners. Mike Bowler with the Riley County noxious weed staff update. That's some interesting things to discuss this morning, and I've got a few interesting things today on my staff update. We'll start with our spring maintenance on the roadside sprayers and rental sprayers has begun. It's almost completed, or really is pretty much all completed and ready to go, as well as our spring maintenance on our mowing equipment and tractors. We're hoping the spray season will start with bare ground application here late in March, weather permitting. As always, we are always very dependent on the weather. I can't have wet ground or rain in the future when we're doing ground sterilant, which is our first spray application of the year. There is a large amount of seeding projects this year. Public Works has been very active in cleaning a lot of ditches, and so we've got several projects, more than usual, to begin. We're hoping to get started next week, but it wouldn't hurt my feelings to get the ground temperature up a little bit more before we start putting seed down. But we were challenged with, we've got so much time to get the seed down, but ideally you'd want to wait a little longer until you get some ground temperature, so that seed isn't just sitting there dormant. So we'll see how the weather permits on that as well. Cost share chemical, good news this year is I have seen chemical and seed prices stabilize for 2023. Meaning they have not gone up as we've seen large increases in 2022. However, disappointed to say they have not gone down either. So we're still at a high level, but we didn't see an additional increase this year. We do offer cost share chemical, but as a reminder, our cost share chemical is by law only offered for noxious weed infestations. This year, we're going to kind of, I guess the word is trust but verify on that. Although I haven't set a specific limit, we do have a handful of customers that come in every year and buy well over a pallet of chemical. One pallet's going to treat well over 500 acres of an infestation. So that's something that is going to this year trigger an inspection and may delay their delivery of their order. And that's one of those things that we have looked at who has bought that much in the past, and we're going to get out in front of that a little bit and send them a letter just to make them aware that I'm not saying I'm not going to sell them the chemical, but it's a matter of I need to, if we have that much of an infestation. The issue kind of becomes, the argument is, well, I don't have that much noxious weed because every year I buy that much chemical to treat it. And that's kind of a gray area, if you will, but generally, everybody plays by the rules. I'm not suggesting they don't, but we have had a number in county commissioners very concerned and called me about they sell a tremendous amount of chemical. We do about 100,000 a year. They do 1.3 million a year. And there's probably a need to really enforce this a little bit more. So I'm going to follow my own advice that I have given the other county in that regard. So just be aware that we are sending out a few letters, and that is the type of thing that may get the phone ringing a little bit if people feel that they're not getting their chemical at a greatly reduced price. Keep in mind that they can save $3,000 to $4,000 buying a pallet of chemical through us. So it's a tremendous savings if they can kind of take advantage of that. I guess you might be right. So just want to bring your attention. The noxious weed department, we do offer rental sprayers. We have some pretty pretty prehistoric rental sprayers that are getting to be really bad shape. They're often many times over 25 years old. And so that is a service that we've started that the community really likes taking advantage of that. They need a sprayer to spray the fields. And so it's something we're going to continue with. I do have in my budget that we're going to start trying to replace 1 unit a year. We have 4 units, and starting with this year, we've done some research. Not a tremendous amount of companies out there that make these things, but we have found one down in Wichita. And so we'll probably be moving forward this year with a purchase of at least 1 unit. Make the commissioners aware of that. And then a couple other small action items we'll have after the staff update involves the 2022 noxious weed annual report, which shows what chemical we sprayed, how much we sold, where we sprayed it, and then our 2023 management plan. That's a requirement by the state that I let the state know what I will accept for treatment and rental equipment that's available, that sort of thing. So that would be 2 action items after this brief staff update. Next, moving on to our HHW side of the house, we will have another clean out this Saturday, March 11th, 2023, down at Howie's from 8 to noon. Again, this is a wildly popular event. We get folks calling all the time, and it is always the second Saturday of the month. Fairly easy to remember if you think of it that way. Again, we will not be accepting business waste there, and we have limited it to 25 items per drop off. Folks were just bringing down trailer loads and stuff, and we've got to avoid that. We have got the word out on that, and the people folks are realizing that we've only got a trailer, so if you bring a trailer, that creates a problem. The Raleigh County HHW has recycled latex paint to give away. We have just got John back from out on extended injury leave, and so he's been mixing up some paint. So we've got lots of colors that are available out there right now, and we are open from 7:30 to 4 to pick that up. And then the CWDA conference was last week in Mulvane, Kansas. We were able to send a couple of our applicators down there. Myself and some other staff members weren't able to attend this year, but we did get 2 attendees down there, and that's where we get accredited for our spray license. So it's important to go. And then currently right now, I just came from this morning for our basic weed school that I, along with the Kansas Department of Ag, put on every year for new weed directors across the state. We have a little over 30 attendees this year. It will be making a field trip to our facility this afternoon at 1:30. Actually, we'll give them a demonstration of spray equipment and kind of allow them to ask questions of me and my staff, and as we follow on some of our experience. I actually, with 5 years experience in the weed department now, can say I'm actually getting to be one of the old timers. So we get an opportunity to share some of that experience.
5 years.
Yeah,
He's just a pup.
I know.
Yeah, all of the directors in the Big Lakes region, since I took over, we have 11 counties there. I am now the 3rd most senior one. I'm the one of 3 that was left. It's left over from just 5 years. And of course, I replaced Dennis. So if you count him as a replacement,
Saw him yesterday.
yeah. I still talk to Dennis. Great. And one other final thing I want to add that I didn't put on there, we did break ground yesterday on our new building. That we're putting up there. Cleary referenced the tornado damage, so we're getting some holes in the ground. So as promised, it looks like we were going to be completed by April. So glad that they've honored that. We haven't had a problem with supply there. Everything seems to be working smoothly. So we want to report that our building is going to be up and functional and just in time for tornado weather.
It was up a month.
Any questions, commissioners? Yes, thank you. As I mentioned, the next item is simply our noxious weed annual report. Again, this is just a report that dictates our budget summary and includes both our revenues and expenditures. It also includes our survey sections. I'm assigned 10 survey sections a year in Riley County in which I go and inspect those sections of ground. And then we apply a mathematical model to that and come up with a general idea of the amount of noxious weed infestation in the county. Frankly, I rely on being out in the ditches and the type of complaints I'm getting to help really set that number. But at any rate, those sections of ground that I surveyed last year are in this report. As well as this year, the state is requiring a mill levy worksheet for those counties that fund their noxious weed fund via a general fund. And that mill is directly related to how much you can sell chemical for. In our particular case, we fall at 0.83 mil, which is below the threshold of 1.5. And so that means that we can sell chemical at 75% of our cost, but that can also include our handling and our personnel. So what it results in is essentially our cost of the actual chemical that we're not able to add into our handling, that sort of thing. And as I mentioned earlier, some counties that are falling below that threshold, when they sell $1.3 million worth of chemical and can only recoup 75% of it, one of those things will get the attention of the commissioners real fast when they realize $400,000 and they walk it out the front door on chemical sales. That's one of the reasons why it's important to make sure that we're selling chemical for the treatment of noxious weed, as an example. But I require or request your signature on the annual report so that I may send that to the state.
I didn't have any questions on it. Does anybody?
No, it's pretty standard every year for the most part. So I'll go ahead and make a motion then to recommend the approval of the annual report for noxious weed and hazardous waste department.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the annual report for noxious weed and hazardous materials. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All three sign, please.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes. Both of them. It's unusual, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Think the state with anything, but it's 3 signatures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Happy though.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of statistics in that report and kind of
Yeah.
interesting. The last item I have for you commissioners is our management plan. It is a lot more simple document than the one that you just approved. It just really outlines what we are planning on doing in the upcoming year as far as treatment of noxious weeds, what our cost share program is, and available equipment to combat noxious weed infestations. And we, as I already mentioned, are one of the only few counties that offer like rental equipment, that sort of thing. So that's dictated in our management plan. It's one of those things that the state likes to see, is that folks have an opportunity to rent equipment to be able to treat that. But it also outlines what we spend in chemical, and that we do have a cost share program, and it is in compliance with state statute. So this is a fairly simple report that's actually given to me by the state. So it looks maybe a little odd when the font, if you don't, type a lot of things in certain fonts, like my name. I'm not quite that proud of my name, it would be that huge font, but at any rate, it is a very simple management plan that's required from the state every year from their lead directors. And so with that, I would request approval of the management plan so that I may submit that to the state as well.
No questions then?
Is it kudzu? Do we have that here?
We actually have a
Hear about it.
spot of kudzu. And if you're familiar with kudzu, it's absolutely a
Take over
plant
thing.
from a science fiction movie. Down south, it was originally brought down to riverbank erosion control.
Oh,
And it is taken over down here. Many years ago, we suspect that we had a windstorm and we had to call up some power companies from down south that came up. And they fixed the power lines right across from Vista there on Clark Creek Boulevard. And we got a spot of kudzu there that we have
did
had
I
to
check
treat.
with them?
Yes, we've had to treat every year, and we
Huh.
suspect that kudzu seeds came up on one of the power deals, and that's one of those things. It's one of those weeds that scare me to death.
Well, like I say, I see stuff reports, or like I say, in the south where it just, if they got a picture where it just takes over. I mean, in a year it can spread all over. the
I,
place.
I hear that it has a growth rate of almost a foot a day. And it's such a powerful vine that there are stories of it getting into power transformers. How it's managed to do that, I have no idea. But short out power transformers down south and just, it'll choke trees to death. It'll take over. Like I said, it's something out of science fiction.
Yeah.
So yes, we have a 0.1 acre of kudzu in Riley County that gets a tremendous amount of my attention.
But you just have to keep after it. That you
Yes,
can't
we
get
do.
rid of it.
Yes,
You just have to
we
hit it every year.
Very difficult,
Wow.
very, very difficult to control. It serves its purpose as far as riverbank erosion control. It was actually very good for that. It's too good. Yeah.
Controls everything.
Has a very delicious smelling blossom. Smells just like grape jelly. If you ever have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's very fragrant flower. Smells delicious, but got bad plant.
I see, I just didn't know. I thought it wasn't usually in this area.
Yeah, it's not. It's.
And hitchhiked up here.
You're absolutely correct about that. And if I have anything to do with it, it won't be a problem.
Right.
It's definitely got our attention. And so it finds itself on our report every year.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Not gonna eat any grape jelly today, that's for sure.
Mike likes grape jelly.
I guess.
It's well.
All right, I guess with that, then I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the 2023 management plan for noxious weed and hazardous waste.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded to approve the 2023 annual noxious weed management plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All three sign, please. That's Commissioner Darren Sultan's up. Darren.
Morning.
Star. It says self is in this name of the publication.
All right, I won't be sticking my nose into a patch of kudzu anytime.
Tell me about it.
Learn something every day.
Yeah.
Well, good morning, commissioners. Darren Sullivan, Director of Economic Development, Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce. Brought a bit of handout this morning. I'm going to talk some about some of the entrepreneurial programs that's been kind of top of mind recently. There's a extension put on the rural revitalization conference. There's been some discussion at the Rural Economic Development County Rural Economic Development Committee about various different programs to support entrepreneurs, funding programs, et cetera. So kind of take a few minutes here and talk about what some of the programs are that are currently out there from a funding standpoint that are available to businesses and entrepreneurs in Riley County. Talk a little bit about what some of the resources and the process to access those and some of the resources to help with any of that access applications otherwise. And then a little bit of an update on some current activities and kind of what we envision where the gaps are that need to be filled, or what some things that we're working on right now with partners. They're going to ultimately impact businesses in the county, hopefully in a positive way from a entrepreneurship standpoint. So it's kind of where we're headed. I'm just going to work my way through this. Up front, you've got, and just so you have it top of mind and available, my business card, and then James Monson. One of these times we come for an update, we'll get to work on James's schedule, but James is the new SBDC person here, so he offices out of, he's the SBDC consultant or advisor now that's operating out of this Manhattan-based office. We provide office space as well as some financial support for the SBDC to ensure that there's an office here. Again, they're part of the Washburn University region, so that's why he's got the association with Washburn that you see there on his business card. But James is great. He's jumped in with the last month or so and getting clients, but James covers a region that includes about 5 or 6 counties here. So kind of Gary, Riley, Potawatomi, Marshall, Clay, Dickinson, and he's covering Washington now as well. So he's this whole region, whether it be Riley County or not, but so he's on the road a fair amount, but he's a great resource. I used to be in that position back 10, 12 years ago. So know that program well. Great resource for prospective entrepreneurs, great resource for small businesses, everything from just get another set of eyes on a management plan or another set of eyes on financials, or especially right now, the SBDC has really built some great resources. They call it their Capital Access Center, but they've built some great resources to help folks that are pursuing financing or other sources of capital. So they've got a couple retired bankers that work with the consultants and will come in on a deal and help review financials, help put documents together, and basically help folks get bank ready. So if they're looking, and then if they need to help sourcing financing, but most of the time they've got a relationship with a local bank or a number of local banks, or they're trying to pursue one of these programs I'll talk about here in a second. They need some help on doing that legwork, and so SBDC has actually got folks that have spent their entire career doing that, and now we're doing it as a part of the SBDC team. So that's really a great resource. So I always encourage folks, if you get questions from business owners or folks looking for resources or looking for help in any of those fronts, James is a great resource. I'm happy to help make that connection, or just send them directly to him. And again, we'll get James here sometime to chat a little bit too. Some of these funding programs that are currently available, and all of these that I've got printed out for you here have some connection to an organization called Network Kansas. Network Kansas is a State Department of Commerce supported entity. They do a number of things related to entrepreneurial support at the state level, but most impactful and most visible are some financing and funding programs. They also serve a very important role as the back-end administrators for a number of both locally developed programs around the state in different communities, in different counties, in different cities. But they also provide the back-end administration on most of the e-community loan program. So that's that first sheet front and back is the Riley County Manhattan community. This was formulated back in about 2015-16 timeframe. We haven't done a huge volume of loans through this, although the last couple of years we've really picked it back up again. Potawatomi County, if you see cable television over in Potawatomi County, we see some of their advertisements ever that they run. But Potawatomi County Development has been really active in the community front and has done over 50 of these loans. We're not quite to that number yet, but we're working on catching up. The key things to remember here: there has to be a bank or financial institution involvement, and then this loan can match up to $45,000 can match that investment. So it's or match that financing from a bank. So it's really meant to be gap financing, if the bank's financing tangible assets or something else that's collateralized as part of the deal. This can come in and be operating capital. So it can help with Blue Sky and a business purchase. We've got a couple of those, one up in Riley and one here in Manhattan, where this helped with some of the Blue Sky and operating expenses related to a business purchase. You can see some of the uses of funds and non-qualified funds on there. The dollar amounts, and then on the back page a little bit more about the application or example of the process. And then the contact for this is actually myself at the chamber. We're the local partners. We're the local partners that can be with assess the application. There's a review committee. It's not the chamber's decision. There's a Network Kansas e-community review committee that I help administer. So I do the paperwork for them, and they take a look at the loans and fund those. So that's a good resource at the local level, one we've got some experience with. The next several pages are some new programs through Network Kansas and the Department of Commerce, a couple of which we also have local control over. So our Network Kansas review board actually gets to review these and make decisions on them as well. Those include the starter loans that are on here. So the minority women-led and economically disadvantaged starter loan, as well as the rural and urban distress loan. We actually just haven't been able to announce it publicly, but just got approved $200,000 through one of these programs for a local business here and just earlier this week. So that'll be an exciting one. We're able to announce that here. Hopefully by the end of the month. But there are funds out there. These are programs that are funded through the U.S. Treasury Department and an initiative that they have. They flow down to the state. The state has worked with Network Kansas to deploy them out into the communities. Again, these require some bank involvement, but they can basically match a bank loan that minority women-led or economically disadvantaged starter loan can match up to 200% of a bank loan. So you get buy a piece of equipment and borrow some additional money, spend $50,000, you could technically apply for up to $100,000 through this program with low interest money to use as gap financing, operating capital, and for other business operation purposes. So, and then the last one of those, and there's there's a starter loan, there's the growth loan, which is just a larger loan. We don't get to review that to the local level, that goes to the state review committee. But it's structured similarly. The rural urban distress loan, again, that's one that specifically geared towards rural areas or areas within municipalities that qualify as distressed. And then finally, that last page is community asset loan. So I think that's a key one that we can always use some help getting out information out into the community about. But that's for projects that increase quality jobs, access to care, education, healthy behaviors, and/or civic engagement, or provide economic benefits to the community. So we've seen some examples around the state. It's a brand new program, but we've seen some examples related to healthcare. I mean, it's for businesses, but if it's involved in healthcare, childcare, after school programs, library related things, community benefit types of things. So that's a program that we might take a little deeper look at and something to get out and talk to our city clerks and some of our folks in some municipalities around the county, see if there's interest in or if there's businesses or entities that might qualify for some of that funding. So the last thing I want to say on the funding piece is, all of these require a bank involvement. We're doing some work right now to try to create local sources of funding that could not take the place, but could be alternatives to having a bank funding in a project. So creating a local revolving loan fund sourced from, when I make a ask to the city for some funding, K-State Innovation Partners has committed some funding and we're able to raise some additional monies. And then just was meeting with the Community Foundation yesterday. Going to be ultimately approaching some foundation funds there about making contributions go into a pot or a fund, which we've dubbed the Elevate Fund, and then those monies could support programs like revolving loan funds that are geared out towards our local entrepreneurial community and local small businesses. So that would allow folks again to take the place of the bank, and maybe you need to borrow $10,000-$15,000 early on, or you need a specific piece of equipment, or you need to buy some additional inventory as part of scaling a small business. You can go borrow that money, pay it back, low interest over a relatively short term, 36 months or so, create some track record, show ability to repay, turn around and leverage that experience to get more forms of traditional lending. Once you've got a loan through the bank, then we can come in and support that with all of these programs and get some gap financing or some additional operating capital into a business at low interest and through locally controlled programs like the ones we just went through. So a lot of good things going on there. I think we're getting close. You can see some stuff in the news here over the next few weeks about some asks regarding money to capitalize those funds. Also want to mention Spark and all of that, sparkmhk.com. Spark's running a lot of really good programming right now. In fact, they're starting a Foothills Business Launch class today. That's an 8-week Kauffman Foundation based class. They've got over 20 businesses participating. So we're supporting Spark financially to help run those programs. And so when it was encouraged folks, if entrepreneurs that are looking for resources, looking for entrepreneurial education, improved financial literacy, management training, those kinds of things. There's some great resources that exist here locally that have been built out over the last couple of years through the SBDC and through Spark to support that. So that's a lot quickly on entrepreneurship. What I just, before I wrap up, mention, as we updated a month ago, we're in the process of meeting with stakeholders and then posting a job and interviewing for the military community liaison position. The position that Janet Nichols had been in for about 10 years in our office. So we think we've identified somebody and are working forward on that. And hopefully by the time we're here next month, they'll be able, or before, be able to announce that. But pretty positive about where that's going, and fingers crossed we got somebody who will be great in that position, and we'll get that all finalized here in the near future. So that's my report today. Happy to answer any questions. Chairman and commissioners, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next question, yeah, Gibbs.
Why don't you go ahead and recess? I need to. Right. Let's go ahead and recess it.
Recess for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Get started in a few minutes, Julie.
Hey.
Okay. Oh, okay, so I saw him at the home show, and he said that they were working towards that, so I kind of.
We got a little caught up.
I know,
For
that's
some
the way
reason.
it goes, like, we try to be expected. Right. Yeah. Hopefully you guys find someone. I just get nervous.
Right. Okay. We need to probably sit down and chat in some military relations to not necessarily keeping
I'm
the
sure.
position, but things that I can moving forward. And part of my dialogue with particularly Congressman Mann's office last month was developing a letter of support for basically military functions amongst the entire delegation, and they're working on that letter right now. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Sure. It's great. Have a good weekend. Julie and Amanda.
Good.
Good.
Well, we're having Pacific Northwest weather. Yeah.
Yes, we are. For it looks like the rest of the week and into next week.
That's the guy on the radio this morning saying we have Seattle weather.
Feeling right at home, huh?
Sounds like we got a cold front coming through the end of next week, I heard.
He was saying that we've had 3.3 inches of snow this year in Manhattan. He said the record low was 3.2.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Back, I think that 27, 28 or something.
Now that happened to us, and then LA has had a record, showed, the skyline with the mountains with snow. Last time was 1989. They had that.
ready to go.
Go ahead and make a motion then that we recess as the Board of County Commission and reconvene as the Board of County Health.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to recess as the Board of County Commission recess and reconvene as the Board of Health. All in favor? Aye.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Julie Gibbs with the Health Department here with my monthly report reflecting back on February. So as usual, Shelley has provided the budget to actual for February, highlighting the areas under revenues and expenses and explaining those highlighted areas. And they're all due to timing of payments with our reimbursement based grants. That has a lot to do with the timing of payments. So under revenues with WIC, KCCTF, and the regional FEP, they're all reimbursement based grants. With expenses, admin was highlighted, that's due to timing of expenses. We had some large ELC COVID expenses that were paid in January, like for software or EMR software and building enhancements. For CCL, it was timing of expenses, and for the Becoming a Mom classes, it was expense timing. Funds received in 22, but spent in 23. So that's usually typical for our budget. Any questions on that? Can you see it? Okay. Has it been better lately? Okay.
Lot better.
Okay. Good. I'm going to go into program updates, starting with the maternal and child health program. They held all 6 Becoming a Mom classes on Saturdays in February for a total of 110 participants. They also had a Spanish BAM class with 10 participants. Their Becoming a Family classes were held on Thursdays throughout the month of February with 25 participants. And these are record high participant counts for both BAM and our BAF classes. So BAM, we started some years back before COVID, and 110 participants is the highest they've had since COVID. They started Becoming a Family classes last year about this time, and 25 is the highest they've had since they started. We are also now teaching CPR and first aid classes. We have 5 employees who are certified to train others in the community. So we're offering this to our providers, to a lot of our clients, and also to employees of health department. We can offer to Riley County employees as well, free of charge. So we had 16 participants in the month of February. These are the clinic updates provided by Jacob. They gave 160 total immunizations over 119 patients in February. They had a total of 120 family planning visits for a total of 303 visits in February. They also completed the SANE training. That's a sexual assault nurse examination training. This was a success. They had 39 participants. So many people from our community, including some of our employees at the health department, along with some others from outside of the area as well. And that was a week-long training. So we are now, after we go through our protocols and procedures and make sure that all of our nurses are comfortable with doing it, we're able to provide these examinations within our hours. This is a child care licensing update. They are currently working on 13 complaints and 11 initials. This chart shows the February monthly report. So in the month of February, the surveyors made a total of 13 visits in Riley County, 8 in Geary County, 6 in Clay, 2 in Dickinson, and 13 in Pottawatomie County for a total of 41 visits. We also have one of our surveyors who just delivered her first baby last Friday. And so she is going to be out on maternity leave for quite some time. So they'll be picking up for her while she's out. So we're very happy for her. Everyone's healthy. This is a continuation of the child care licensing update. This gives you the facility report for this current month of March. As of right now, we are up 1 provider in both Riley and Dickinson County. We're up 2 in Clay County for an increase of 4 daycares in the region. This is a Raising Riley report. They've been very busy in the month of February. They did some community outreach to include their monthly laundry love event that they do at Sedger Duds. They had 6 children and 5 adults this last time. On February 23rd, Chelsea Mann Warren, one of our Raising Riley employees, met with CASA, that's the court appointed special advocates, to schedule a Build Your Bounce adult resilience training for their employees in April. They did some family engagement on February 8th. They held a family game night. They had 9 families attend with 9 adults and 14 kids. They also host a parent book club every month. So Beth hosted this on the 25th. She had 7 parents and 6 children. They completed their Circle of Security for Parenting class on the 28th. They had 4 parents complete that, and 5 children utilized the childcare. They also held a provider support group, which they do monthly on the 27th of February with 7 providers attend. They do have some upcoming events in March. So on March 18th, they'll host another parent book club, What to Do When Your Child Gets Sick. And on the 21st, they'll host a play and learn event called Susisms. And then for a WIC update, I mentioned this last month, but this month, March, is the National Nutrition Month. March 8th, yesterday, was Registered Dietitian Day, so we were able to recognize all 5 of our dietitians that work with us and thank them for all the work that they do. Amelia started as the new breastfeeding peer counselor at Irwin. She was doing some training, but as of this past Monday, she was able to start meeting with clients. And we had Kaylin, her intern, and another staff, Kathy from WIC group, attend the Afghan women's group on February 19th. They provided a dental health education presentation since February was Dental Health Month. And they were actually able to complete several WIC appointments during this time, along with getting another family signed up for WIC. And then Asia has been very busy out in the community, mainly with the schools. She's been providing a lot of education for the Opioid to Action grant. She's provided 3 presentations so far to the health classes at MHS USD 383, so a total of 60 students, and she delivered 2 presentations to Riley County High School for a total of 150 students. She'll be traveling to Rock Creek High School at the end of this month, along with Longmeadow High in April. She's also been in contact with Randolph. She just came from a meeting with Randolph. She'll be delivering some presentations to their high school as well, and Junction City High School later in April. She'll also be presenting to the Boys and Girls Club at their parent engagement night coming up. And she's been requested to travel to Ogden to the community center to give the same presentation. So we decided to take Gina, one of our health equity nurses up there to do blood pressures, as we get that request a lot for the North County. And we'll try to make that a monthly event. We won't necessarily send Asia every month, but we'll definitely send a nurse every month up there. And then just to give you a quick grant update, I mentioned this last month that we submitted a grant to KDADS. It's the Suicide Prevention and Awareness Grant. We did get the full $30,000. So the Flint Hills Volunteer Center is the fiscal agent for that. Along with that, they awarded us an extra $5,000. So that almost never happens, or hasn't happened since I've been here. So I was happy to accept that extra $5,000. We went with the suicide prevention coordinator with KDADS to discuss the budget and how that extra $5,000 would be spent. It will be spent mainly on marketing. So I've already talked with Vivian to let her know that throughout this next year until next March, we have 12 months to help raise awareness in our community about suicide prevention and education. We'll also give incentives to attend events, and we'll be able to pay ambassadors to deliver our suicide prevention presentations, which are already made. And I've already talked with Dr. Mulcahy at the MPH program at Kent State University. And she said some of her students would most likely be interested in becoming an ambassador. So they'll have to go through some training to deliver those presentations, but then they'll get paid for every presentation that they give. We also submitted a grant to the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation, about $9,900 to cover our labs for a health fair that we're planning in May, and we have not heard back from them yet. So hopefully by next week, we'll hear back on that one. And then this is the same slide that I ended with last time, just some upcoming events. We are hosting our first ever Easter egg hunt on April 1st at the FCRC lawn. We'll also host our Bugapalooza at the Douglas Center on April 15th. We'll host a health fair in May. That date is to be decided. And then we'll host our annual community baby shower on June 3rd. That is all I have for the presentation. Any questions? So I'm going to move right along if you're okay with that.
Yep.
I have a few out-of-state travel requests. This first one is from the MCH program. They would like to send 2 of their staff to attend the Child Injury Prevention Convention, which is called PrevCon, in July in Washington, D.C. So I've provided some details on this, and this is directly from the website. That's why it's in quotes. They usually send at least 1 person, but they like to send 2 since there are a lot of breakout sessions. Sarah Haybarker is our social worker with the MCH program. She also works with the Safe Kids Riley County Coalition. So this would go right along with her job description. She'd get a lot of valuable information with that. We'd also like to send Breva Spencer. She's our WIC supervisor to this, and hopefully they can divide and conquer and get to all of the breakout sessions. There will be a variety of topics on COVID, on the workplace and prevention methods. So we were able to use ELC funds as our supplemental COVID funds to pay for the entire cost of the conference and the travel for this. And the total cost would be about almost $4,500.
And that's in July, isn't the airport here closed? About that. Have you considered that?
Oh, did they? I don't know what they put in here.
It just shows airfare 500, but.
Okay, I'm almost positive they're flying out of MCI or Kansas City, but I'll check on that for sure.
Okay. I just wanted to remind you, because
Yeah,
I think it's catching people.
that's gonna hurt a little bit. Yeah.
And to DC from KC is a lot less than $500 normally,
Okay.
depending on
Well, I think they just put that in there as
Yeah,
a
just kind of.
kind of a baseline.
Estimate.
Okay, okay.
We can get more exact figures too, but yeah, they'll fly out of Kansas City for sure.
And that's out of your budget or where,
So that's coming out of the ELC. It's ELC
Oh,
number
okay.
3. It's that COVID supplemental fund that we have to have spent. We actually did get an extension for those funds, so we have a little bit of breathing room to be able to spend some of those funds now. But I told my staff that if there's something that's COVID related in the description on any of these conferences, we can use that money. And I'd rather spend that money on continuing education than anything else right now. So.
anybody have anything else? Okay. I'll go ahead and approve the travel request for the 2 MCH employees to attend the PrevCon conference in Washington, DC.
I'll second.
So moved and seconded to the travel request for 2 MCH employees to attend the PrevCon conference in Washington, DC. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sure, please sign.
Four per person.
That's Julie.
Four per person.
Right, got another out-of-state travel request. Every year we do send at least one employee to the Preparedness Summit. This is in April in Atlanta. This year we'd like to send our vet coordinator, Skylar, and our MRC unit leader, Paulina Gattaca. She's new to that position, and that is a new position, as you know. So again, I've included some information in the discussion. This is right from their website. The fiscal impact, we budgeted for Paulina to attend this as the MRC unit leader under the RISE award that we received from NACHO. So that pays for everything from her registration to travel. We also budgeted for Skylar to attend as the vet coordinator under the vet grant. It'll cover her flight and registration. Her meals and hotel room are actually going to be covered under NACHO. They did this last year too, where they offered some extra funding to us that they were able to cover part of this cost. So therefore, the entire conference would be covered for these 2 to attend.
That's good. Okay. I'll go ahead and approve the out-of-state travel request for the MRC unit leader and the PEP coordinator to attend the preparedness summit in Atlanta.
Now second,
It's been moved and seconded to approve the out-of-state travel request for the MRC unit leader and PEP coordinator to attend the summit in Atlanta in April. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair, please. Julie may be worse than the banks.
We shall.
That's saying something.
Or someone on our staff.
I'm sorry, we have to get a risk race here. Yeah.
double tunnel. Sign.
Yeah.
Dawn, you're providing lunch for afternoon meeting? Was not.
Guess that means you are now. Surprise.
One.
I don't know how much is left, but we might have a few left over we can do today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was good, wasn't it?
Was.
I took some of my home, but it's on the fridge.
I thought it was a good meeting too.
Mhm.
Coordinator was either pie or ice cream list. That's.
Oh, yeah.
I did the adult thing and eat the ice cream first.
Yeah.
It's call hall, you can't let that go to waste.
No, it's true.
No, it's your office, just that ice cream.
Yeah. That's okay too. It is a food treat by itself, by the way.
It is.
Yeah.
So does that replace protein or?
Yeah.
Holman, he had pie and his son went over.
Who?
Holman?
Wow.
Steak.
He
So
couldn't
that
eat his steak,
replaced
he got
that.
some devil.
Oh,
So he had to eat
gotcha.
softer foods. So I told him 2 carbs equal protein, so
Yeah.
I don't think that works. but-
ask your dietitian.
I know, I was gonna say, I'll have to ask
So I
them.
just learned 2 carbs equal protein. Thank you.
Didn't say anything about a healthy protein. But
Yeah.
Nonetheless.
All right, last thing here, I have the KDHE aid to local grant request, which we do every year at this time. So I just changed a few things in this presentation, otherwise everything looks the same as last year. Just a bit of background on the aid to local package to refresh your memory. We do receive state formula funds every year. This is based on population and an assessment that's sent out to all health departments. The other funds include childcare licensing, maternal and child health, immunization action plan, family planning, and the public health emergency preparedness fund. The grant applications are done in a system called KGIMS, which is Kansas Grant Management System. So each supervisor fills out the narrative explanations for the funds while Shelley takes care of the financial explanations. There's also a Wildcat region application, which is separate. Our PEP coordinator, Skylar German, is in charge of the Wildcat region for Potawatomi, Riley, and Geary County. So this is a list of all of those that will submit. So 7 in total, counting your state formula. So I'm going to go through them each individually. This year for state formula, it's set at about 95,000. This is a set allocation, supports public health clinic services. And again, that's based on population size. For maternal and child health, it's a little over 249,000. There is a 40% match, as you'll recall, included in the budget that supports maternal and child health services. Our immunization action program is about 9,000. That is set. Supports vaccine for children program. Childcare licensing, it's about a 432,000, supports the enforcement of regulations in the 5 counties. And then family planning, an extra dollar sign there, but it's $340,000, 40% match again on that one, included in the budget that supports STI testing and treatment, HPV testing, family planning, education and services. Then we also have our FEP, local FEP is about 50,000, supports preparedness training and events for Riley County only. And then the regional FEP is about 32,000, supports preparedness training and events for Riley, Erie, and Pot County. So total funding here, and then we have to separate it out again with the Wildcat region. These are due on the 15th, so right in time. We have to submit them next, that would be next Tuesday, I think. Any questions on any of that?
Seeing none, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the aid to local grant request to be sent to KDHE on March 15th.
Second.
So moved and seconded to approve the aid to local grant request being sent to KDHE on March 15th. All in favor? Aye.
Chair, please sign. Don't appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too.
So, this one, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You are the chair.
Well, yeah.
Yep. Yep. No, there's one that can't be confused. Ready to roll? Sure.
Well, that's guaranteed. So he was out.
Yes, meeting. Sure you'll be. I know 3 hours. Yeah, I've heard any, I got a lot of people. Very old. Yeah. Damn word. He was calling value of did I tweak something on the right side of my right, yes. So I got my shoulder. Work was on it's better, but it's still just. I just did this. Yes, and they're fair. They've got a hitter Twitter. That's right. That's probably. Troyer. Work too well with online. She didn't ask us to want that surgery. Said high score. You got a lot of strength up here. They weird, but they're. And talking to Dad yesterday, and he pulled a muscle in his legs and he was explaining yesterday, he's 80, he says, killing him. Mother and he did too much in one day, I think. He is active. And working in the garden. And doing something else, long I started and dig it. Yeah. And they live fighting with starting his tiller, so he can till his garden. Oh, and that's what the first one here. Yeah, well, that's what he said. He's on it. He got a huge boy built. It was nice.
Yeah.
My dad's a serious gardener and everything. Hold on, that's a right. I mean, it's man, I think. One time before I had to. And he got a too. He said, just the first year, that 30 years, he says, first year, it's never started like on the second, third drive. So it was fighting it.
That's funny, we were just talking about that.
Yeah. we can say that.
This morning when
Doesn't make my sense.
Got to hit my horse 7 years ago, and our daughter was the same age.
What time are you gonna Moving at six, okay. Right in there.
You got 2 minutes.
No, we don't talk about.
Or at least a minute.
Yeah.
Did you meet with me?
No,
Okay.
Maybe I missed it.
no.
So that's.
Can we do it?
Yeah, I don't. But what she suggested is if it's supposed to get. You know, you can hear them, okay, we're gonna hear us. Okay, so that's a good information.
Do need to make a motion that we recess as the Board of County Health and then reconvene as the Board of County Commission, please.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to recess of Board of Health and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. All in favor? Aye.
Yeah, it is. It's a kind of a tongue twister. Ready, commissioners?
Okay, Darrell Eady, Budget and Finance Officer, here to bring you the cash flow report for January, February, and also to discuss some budget and questionnaires in a minute. Start off with, we have the building cash flows. As you can see, we've had some building repairs. Everything likes to be done on the inside. We've had 149,685,081 cents in revenue. Those two little ones, 3350, you get every month. That's a reimbursement. Just so you know. Then we also got another reimbursement of $10. Then we've had expenses of 45,498.79. To date, we have spent 11.58% of the 16.7% year. We received in 59.07% of our revenue. And starting with our beginning unencumbered cash, less add in our revenue, less our expenditures. We have a current 23 ending unencumbered cash, 330,283.02. Show the other projects coming along. The Riley County CIP cash flow. A lot of that deals in January with transfers back and forth between accounts, adding money in and transferring money out to cover bond and interest and things like that. But that creates a total revenue for the current time of 1,880,281.31. Then that creates expenditures of 329,877.51. Of that, the transfer out was 285,135. So that's part of that big number in January. Our beginning cash, 9,032,293.21. Revenue, 1,880,281. Less our encumbrances of 329,877. Gives you a 2023 ending unencumbered cash, 10,582,697. Less remaining approved projects, 2,594,500. The 23 projected unencumbered cash then will be 7,988,196, less the reserves for that list down below of reserve funds. 2,398,677. Gives you a projected 23 cash without the reserves of 5,589,519. And you look on the right side, we've only spent 4% of a 16.7%, but I have a feeling the work is going to begin starting here pretty soon. Because weather will be getting nice again. The next page shows some of the things we've spent it on. Of course, Tabor Valley Bridge, little additional SUV replacement for EMS, and software the 34,500. 10,000 actually, yeah, okay. So that's some of your expenditures. Any questions on that one? Okay. Detail coming up, FF&E one. You'll see the Tabor Valley Bridge has already been taken out on that one. The Riley County Economic Development Cash Flow, we've already sent in the 282,275. Now we've spent 84,052.20. We had a beginning unencumbered cash of 181,640. Revenue of the 282,275. And expenditures of the 84,052. Current 2023, any unencumbered cash, 379,862. And less the projected balance of 168,557 gives us a 2023 projected unencumbered cash, 211,305.
Where does the revenue come from on that account? 282,000.
So transfer in from general.
Okay,
And if you need to see the next page, that's what we've already spent. Some of your half of it, half of your percent is for the year already gone in. A couple of these are quarterly, and then of course your Kansas Water project has already been transferred out to its correct area. That's your 84,052. You still have some funds in there in case something comes up. Right. 132,850. Your half-cent sales tax, we've actually collected more than we anticipated. Not surprised at that. We've collected 405,765. We had projected 300,000. If you look at that budgeted revenue down below with the 300,000 down there. The other 1,500,000 will be in the other sales tax that starts up. We should be getting that this month, if I remember right. It's a 2-month lag.
Yeah,
So that one will actually
to do
start
Yeah.
coming in and we'll show the information on that one. Don't think there'll be any projects in that for a long time.
Partial.
Really?
Yeah, I might have something here
Okay.
for that temporary stuff on Marlatt,
Oh, yeah.
at the intersections to help with the increased traffic due to KDOT project and the city's projects.
We had a beginning unencumbered cash, 6,553,284. Add in our revenue of 405,760 gives us the 23 ending unencumbered current ending unencumbered cash, 6,959,000. Remaining projected income of -105. Projected balance for projects 5,094,000. Add in your or subtract off your projected balance for overlay 350. Those are possible projects, and gives you a projected unencumbered cash 1,409,122. That makes sense. See what else we got in there. And the next page, of course, shows some of the projects that are out there for us to spend on. When weather avails itself and everything works out. Currently. And again, we do have other funds in there we can spend or need to spend out first as well. That's all your cash flows. Any questions on those? Okay. Now our favorite topic, budget. This is the subject of the 2024 budget baseline. And in the past, before I send out the letters, you have made some comments or added in some pieces. I've added that into here in case you want to add something into that letter that, you know, we wanted to send out there. You know, there's one in there, if I remember right, it talks about beware of the economic conditions and everything that's going on. I think that's a standard phrase, and which is an excellent one because the economy is always changing. Right now, we got a 6.5% December, then we have a 6.4% CPIU in January, and who knows where we're at in February. I looked just before I came and it's not up yet. But the one we base everything off of is the one in December. And that is currently the unadjusted 6.5. Typically it's adjusted about April.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you up or down. I have no magic crystal. So but if there's something else you'd like to add into that letter before we send it out, this is your time to tell us, or you can email us as well today, later on.
I think we're pretty much at the same spot we were last year. Well, I think it's gonna be surprised to anybody where I'm at.
Last year, that's what we put in there.
Yeah.
We'd easily, you know, put that back in there for the 2023.
We're not
It would
going-
make sense.
Yeah, we're not gonna allow any new positions.
You know,
I'm
it says that we separated
Yeah.
later.
Separated.
Not
They'll
a base budget.
present it to HR. They're never included in budgets, but sometimes the commissioners up front give directions to don't even submit them because we're not gonna entertain them.
That's right.
Last year, the commissioner said we probably won't, but we would like to know your needs, so submit them to HR, and then you can make that decision during the budget process. So this is direction for you to give us as department heads, and also a similar message, not regarding personnel, to the outside agencies on how you want all of us to handle our budget presentations to you this year.
Yeah, I'll be sending out 2 separate letters. One goes to the outside agencies. They won't deal with personnel. And the internal would have stuff like that.
And this is the main topic of discussion at our county officials lunch.
That's
Kind of the,
Monday.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a pass on any new positions this year, as well, until we. So I feel like we're at a point where I really think we're at a good spot personnel wise, particularly up front, which I don't think we are yet. It would be nice to maybe get the COLA and the step increases and have that discussion a little bit more upfront instead of the middle part of the process, since everything's elongated, but maybe that's not possible.
Well, I know Elizabeth's been working on that diligently already, so.
That might be a good starter point for everything else this year. I have that figured out and done ahead of time if we can. That's the largest portion of everything we're gonna do here, obviously, so.
I don't like to see absolutely not. I would like to see if departments have needs for somebody or
Yeah.
some personnel, I'd like to be able to see that so we can evaluate it. You know,
I tend to fuck with it last year, probably not, but let's see,
Let's take a look at
see
it.
whatever. Like I say, if nothing else for future planning. You can
Yeah.
see how this isn't necessarily this week year, but you know, obviously it's gonna happen sometime.
Yeah, because we don't know what lies ahead.
Yeah.
At all, nobody does.
What's next week?
Next week, maybe.
So is the same language as submitted last year? Is that a consensus with the board?
What's me?
John, you okay with that, or do we need to vote on it?
I'm gonna say no on personnel, new personnel, so we need to vote on it, then I guess we need to vote on it.
Yeah, because then I don't have
Okay.
consensus.
No.
I'll make a motion. Use basically the same wording as last year's. Particularly. No, what is it, new positions not in the proposed budgets, but request submitted to HR for a consolidated presentation later.
I would second that. So it's been moved and seconded to have the same language in the personnel section of this. As of last year. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay.
I have my direction.
Yeah.
We'll get those out here pretty quick.
Sound good?
Commissioners, next year, Shiloh at 10:50. Morning, Shiloh.
Good morning.
Still raining out there?
Went away already. I wonder how much we got.
Not much. It might.
Looked like to the north and the west, it was raining pretty good this morning, but.
I think you guys got more here than I did. The heavy stuff went north of me. And there, I saw one little heavier batch kind of look south here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't get a lot. At least at the time that I left by.
We got some on that part. But not much. Just enough to make the sidewalks right.
Just enough to have to wash the car.
At least your poor little dog didn't put it obnoxious.
Oh, yeah, it's not that bad of a thing.
He doesn't like it.
He doesn't like the harness either. He just likes to be free.
I don't blame him.
Me either, but. Are you thinking back then?
Look for you Saturday. Saturday.
Oh, I was, I was in the, my husband was there, he was getting.
Do you use a knife? Need to get transferred up here. We haven't decided where we want to go.
Yeah.
We seem to be going to St. Physical most because of the kids. And they don't have them.
Makes sense.
Just call it. Yeah. Anderson.
Well, we're getting ready, let's see, we're getting ready to do a remodel at Shelby, so.
Video.
So it'll start in May. And then we should get that.
That's one thing I might have kept this away. Extra money.
Yeah, wait till, come and start in October.
Yeah. Bill.
Because $7 just there, theirs.
And then,
Yeah.
so we're pretty out there. So
So they're not built renovation too. Everything is so expensive.
They don't realize that you right now it's like, what is that?
Essentially. I know it's a lot. Those are bad missions, purposes to law. They can't just see by that. So. Particularly. Just. Wow. You see where struggling.
Yeah, I guess the one thing we're really gonna have is Riley County, there's 2 members, it's the.
What I need is a total dollar loss. There's gonna be a change.
What? You're welcome. This last go around for my neighbor, yeah, customer service rep one, I had over 100 applicants.
Really? It's good.
They're not good.
I mean,
Well, I know, but I mean,
there was only, still only a handful to pick from, but
at least there's interest. That's moving the needle at least.
if I actually hired somebody from, she was a Pot County Treasurer's Office, and she was new to Leonardville. And saw the position and walked in day one, able to help customers. She does commercials, she does driver's license.
Good. I just gotta figure out how to hang on to them. That's a good sign with the moving here.
Okay,
I was thinking that too.
okay, ready? Okay. Well, hello, it feels like it's been since December. Oh, it has been since December, because we just couldn't get our on the same page for January, but I did send you January's report, so you have those. So here I am here with February's revenue numbers. And you can see it, we have a balance in the general fund of 27 million, just about 27,900,000. And total fund balance of 76,952,914.25. A couple of things I've added to this year's report. You can see we have the opioid money that has started coming in. We got our second distribution of those monies. And so we currently have an amount in that fund of 118,118.02. I just wanted to break that out for you so you can see what that looks like. We did have a discussion in budget and planning that we're going to be coming to you some point with a plan on how we want to start using those monies, whether it's we'll have a form or something, kind of like we did the ARPA money where people will turn in requests. And so we'll be bringing that to you here shortly. I also broke out the 50,000, the local assistance and tribal consistency fund. We got $50,000 last year, and we'll get another $50,000 this year. Those are monies that were set aside for counties that have payment in lieu of taxes. It was just another fund of money that got distributed out. And we can use those monies for any governmental purpose, with the exception of lobbying, I believe, is the one thing that was an exception on that. So by the end of 2023, you should have $100,000 in that fund to use towards our needs in the county.
Charlotte,
Yes.
that opioid settlement, is that a monthly allocation or is that yearly?
No, we're supposed to get it there's now all of these different settlement monies. So the first one we got back in July, we got 3 different payments in February, in the month of February. So I haven't seen an actual schedule, but it's supposed to be paid out over the next 10 years, I believe. So
It's actually allowing 2 extra years or anything that's supplemental outside of that, so it could be up to 12. And I'd heard it was gonna be
Or-
quarterly.
Yeah,
10 years, but if there's anything left over, they're gonna try to divvy that out.
I don't mind saying that wrong too. It might even be 20 years, because
I was
Clancy,
thinking it's a really long.
yeah, because Clancy and I were talking about it, that we're probably both gonna be gone, baby. We
There's
just
no
the end of
problem.
this.
There's no problem. On this end.
You gotta be here 20 years.
So that would just.
We're just gonna write you in anyway, so you know, they won't.
It's all drugs, just opioids.
Right now, that's what it's for education purposes, and there's a list of
Yeah.
suggested uses for that money.
Yeah.
But I just, because it was so small last year, I just had it lumped in with just miscellaneous, but I believe it's going to grow, and so I wanted to make sure that I was isolating it out for you, so you would see what that looks like. Okay. So my interest on investment budget is already blown. We are well over that 100,000 that I budgeted for the calendar year. So as of February, we currently have 520,786.39 of net interest that has been deposited from our checking account. And that represented my thing cut off. Our active checking account interest rate was 4.64% for the month of February. And you currently, calendar year to date, 104,901.12 of interest that has been accumulated on the ARPA money that is sitting in that fund. I did 2 investments in the month of February. I'm currently getting the best rate on treasury bills. And so I got a 4.9% on one of the investments and 4.92 on the other. Those are currently in 1 year. So those will be funds that interest will be coming in for next year. Any questions on interest? Okay. Our general fund revenue for the month of February was $793,534.39, which is 103.81% over what was budgeted for the month. The 2 biggest areas that came in over budget, one of them was sales tax, the other investment interest. We have collected through the month of February 49.26% of budgeted revenues for 2023. So, sales tax. We deposited the Riley County portion of the sales tax for the month of February was $423,764.51, which represents December sales. Next month, you will see another column on this report that will be the new sales tax. So that's how I'll start reporting that starting next month. At the end of February, we were 5.88% over budget for what we had budgeted for sales tax for 2023. Here, these graphs represent the total sales tax that was brought into the county. Year to date, it's 8.45% higher than it was February of 2022. February sales tax was up 9.3% compared to January, but remember, these are December sales, so it's probably your Christmas, that's your Christmas time. And February of 23 compared to February of 22 is up 5.07%. Use tax was up 3.88% compared to this time last year. And then I created another sheet for you. I'll start bringing this to you every month. This actually shows the distribution among Riley County and the various cities. And I just, because of how we're going to be allocating the money then to the smaller cities, you'll be able to kind of see yourselves each month what the half cent remaining sales tax looks like. And that's what we will be, if the agreements go through, we would be sharing with the small cities. You would see exactly what their distribution would look like.
That's per month.
Is that what
right?
you want?
Yeah.
Yep, that would be per month.
Right,
Uh-huh. So next month will be January sales of 23, and that's when the half-cent road and bridge goes away. We'll just be distributing to this, you'll see this distribution of the remaining half-cent. Okay. Anything?
Meetings this week, cities. That's something I did put a note, but I tried to go over that with each of them, so wondering how that's gonna work.
Yeah, they've, Ogden had some concern with that too, because they were looking at the numbers and it was actually the formula they were looking at, it, not the actual numbers. So I thought it was 18,000 or something for the year. And I'm like, no, that's per month. So that balances out. So that 180
Yeah,
that
so this
they
would-
typically get. So,
Ogden's, this is.
Yeah.
And I can tweak this a little bit too, can have sales tax, use tax, and then a total.
Yeah.
I can play with that a little bit, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what I will start presenting to you, going forward.
looks like it's maybe up right now, maybe 5% or so, maybe, and just guesstimate there. You know, and that kind of typical with how
Mhm.
sales taxes working. I'll be surprised when inflation comes down officially, then that comes down with
Well,
it.
see, that's the thing. I think a lot of people misread that the economy's doing great, but let's see, 6.5 is awful close to 5% increase, and we're usually below, yeah, so, yeah.
So any questions on any of that, or?
No, I appreciate you being willing to do that.
And if
Yeah,
there's please let me know if when you're talking to your constituent cities, if you'd like me to present it to you a different way, just let me know. I could. Be
yeah,
happy to
I
share.
just thought this was a good idea just because it's such a shift and change. I mean, we're looking at it as sales tax, but kind of the way we're going about it's a little bit differently. So just so we can track it for at least, I'm gonna say at least a year,
Okay.
maybe, but we'll see.
Yeah, the first year.
Yeah,
See how
yeah.
it's working.
And then the last little graph I would like to show you, I'm kind of pretty proud of myself. So this is my first stab at a OpenGov report that I generated out of the new OpenGov system. This is just a year-to-date general fund revenue that just shows revenues for January, February against the year-to-date budget. It's broken down below by the various departments. What I would like to do is eventually I will set the commissioners up their own dashboard, and I'll be able to put these reports on a dashboard that you'll be able to access yourself. But I just created one and did a download, just downloaded the image just so you could see what one looked like.
I like that.
I am getting ready to start working with some of the departments, and we'll be setting up departmental dashboards, and I'll then, like I said before, I'll be then hopefully working with Vivian on creating some stories that we can post on the website.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
I just was very excited that I got one done finally. And
You've been working on this for
it's been
4 years.
a while, yes, COVID came but anyway, so that's what I just wanted to show you what one of the one of the
I like how
reports
that's-
look like.
yeah.
And what I might ask of the three of you, if there are specific things that you would like to be broken out in its own little report, would you send me an email or set up some time to come visit with me? And
Sure.
I'd like to know what your needs are and what you would like to see, and I will be happy to work on getting those set up and have them accessible for you to look at on the web at your leisure.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So the last couple of things that I just have, we just finished our heavy truck trailer commercial IRP season. We did see about a 14% increase in the number of commercial and IRP customers that we saw. I definitely attribute that to the staff and how the reputation that Riley County has gotten on how we handle those commercial and IRP customers. They on IRP, they can go to one of 10 counties, and a lot of them choose to come to Riley County. Commercial can go to any county, and they tend to come here as well. It's a lot of work, but the staff does a great job. The second thing that I would like to bring to your attention is that, the month of, or the first 2 weeks of April, the treasurer's office is getting a facelift.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting paint and carpet. And so the first 2 weeks of April, we will be moving up to the second floor conference room. And so I'm going to be working with Vivian to get some messaging out. You know, we're going to just highly encourage people, if you don't have to come in that 2 weeks, you know, it's just going to be very cramped and we would like to, we will start taking customers about 8:30 because it's gonna take us, we're gonna actually use the Register of Deeds office to use their vault. And so we'll have to kind of wait for them to let us in so we can get all of our cash drawers and get set up in the morning. Of course, Vicky, when people start coming in, we'll have Vicky direct them up to us, but we're just gonna be a little cramped for a few weeks. Just bear with us, so. Yeah, so that's what's going on in the treasurer's office. And of course, I won't beat a dead horse, but we did not get our bill passed again. I
Yeah.
think we've discussed that enough and, you know, our committee's gonna meet and go back to the drawing board and see where we need to,
I have some thoughts maybe to help with that along the way.
well, pass them on. I'd be happy to take them. And
Okay.
we're actually in some discussions now with the Department of Revenue to see maybe about just looking at some shifting of the current fee structure that's already there, maybe, but I don't know, that'd be taking money away from the Department of Revenue, so we'll see, but we're gonna go back to the drawing board. All right, anything else I can do for you this month?
No,
All right, well, have a great rest of your day.
my scarf too.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Yep, lots of purple today.
Yes,
But there's a game tonight.
tonight.
Yep. No, I thought about it, and I've done that, it hasn't worked out, so
Oh,
I
okay.
intentionally stuck with the normal attire.
I just wore purple and I didn't put a K-State tie on for the same reason. I probably won't watch tonight for the same reason.
You got the right shirt out,
Right,
right?
we washed, I sure got washed, with that loss out of it, so it's
It's a good deal.
That's,
Maybe it's time to go by the superstore today and buy a new T-shirt or something.
And my
Something
super ones at home, I've been like it either, so I'm going with the green.
Maybe it's time for a new pullover. I don't know. I didn't think about it.
Especially if you go to overtime, but it's close as all the teams are this year. Wouldn't be surprised.
okay, Amanda.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Webb, Planning Director. I also have Perry here for, as we're going through our discussion, he can answer any technical questions you folks may have, or really probably any questions you folks may have, but just want to make sure you are aware that he's here to help answer questions and have the conversation. So of course, as we talked about, our EH position will become vacant technically on Monday. Perry's last day is tomorrow. We have the position listed, of course, in the county's career portal. Through the Kansas Environmental Health Association and the National Environmental Health Association. Both Perry and I have talked to a wide variety of people kind of in the EH sanitarian world to just kind of spread the word, see if they know of anybody, see if they have any ideas of what we can do in the interim. So we have some feelers out there. Nothing's come up yet. I don't have anybody to fill in as a contract. I think I mentioned the lady we used last year, she is not available to assist us. And again, we have a couple other messages out to some folks in the region, but nothing is set in stone yet. So, of course, as always, our goal is to keep things moving the best we can. But the reality is there are services we're not going to be able to perform. And the other reality is I don't know how long it's going to take if I can either get a contract and or a permanent person. I unfortunately cannot say how long that might take. I will be honest, I'm a little nervous that it's going to take some time. So I wanted to talk to you folks about, again, what that means for environmental health services and kind of how that impacts some of the other services we do in planning and development, just to make you folks aware. Because it is definitely something we'll need to make sure the public is aware of as well. Kind of some of the two major testing periods, always feel free to jump in if I see something wrong or you want to add something, please feel free. So again, the two major tasks, we're not going to be able to really do our soils evaluations and our system inspections. Of course, the soil evaluations are what starts the new system essentially. So if somebody wants to build a home, or if they need a replacement system, they need a new system, we're very, very limited in what we can do because we cannot do soil evaluations. We are able to, Perry has shown me how to size systems, but that's based on soils information. So if we don't have that, we can't move down the line of that process. So that means, again, not being able to inspect systems either. We can do maybe little components. We'll talk about that in a second. But if people are putting in full on tank and lateral field and the whole thing, we're very, very limited in what we can do with those. So, so that does mean we're not going to be able to process major repair permits. And we've talked about those. The major repairs are either the entire system or the field has failed, or something larger has happened there. We're not going to be able to issue permits for homes or other structures that have plumbing in them, because again, we have an EHS component that has to review and evaluate, make sure the system is either functioning. If it's let's say it's an addition or something like that, we make sure that the system again is functioning, is permitted, is installed correctly. We won't be able to license new installers. We'll talk in a minute about what we can do for new installers, but we won't be able to formally give them a license. And we won't be able to perform environmental systems evaluations, the home loan inspections. Those are things that we definitely recommend, but they're not required by our code at this point. Those tend to happen when somebody is selling a home. The buyer will request that service from us, and Harry will go out, do an inspection of the system, make sure things are functioning, we review all of our records, provide all of that information. So we won't be able to do the entire home loan inspection. And lastly, we're not going to be able to process water samples, but at the very least, there are regional, close by and regional labs that can handle those services. So if somebody really needs something, they'll be able to take a sample to Erie County, or there's a couple other labs kind of regionally that people can bring their water samples to. So I want to talk a little bit about what we can do. And again, I did mention that we are able to size systems, but it does rely on soil information. So we're still a little limited there. We can issue minor repair permits. What we talked about is allowing the contractors, installers, the folks who fix the system to take sufficient photographic documentation, if you will, and send that to us so we can verify that yes, that system's been, or that portion's been replaced or whatnot. So that's a way for us to keep the minor repair permits going at least. And again, just a quick reminder about minor repairs. Those are, maybe a piece of your septic system isn't functioning anymore, your blower motor, your lid or something like that, that are easy enough to have fixed and easy enough for us to be able to ensure that's been done with sufficient photograph documentation. We can, of course, issue building permits for structures without plumbing, even though all structures do require EHS sign off, if you will. Without plumbing, basically, we're verifying that the system has been pumped within the last 5 years. That is a requirement. You have to pump at least every 5 years. So we're able to pull our records to see if we have within the last 5 years pump record. And if we do, then we can issue that permit. And if they don't, we can let them know that it needs to get pumped. And this is the current process. That's what we already do. So that part won't change. We can, of course, pull records. We have all kinds of different records and documentation for a lot of different addresses and systems around the county. We can train and test the installers. I said a minute ago that we can't license them fully, but we can do portions of it. We do have Riley County materials where we can essentially train, you go through, kind of a PowerPoint, just some information for them to learn from. And then we do also have a test that we administer. And so we can do those things for that prospective installer, but what we can't do is the required first system installation. So that is part of being licensed. Perry would have to go out, and whether it's a standard system or alternative, he has to go out and observe the entire first install in order to license that new installer. So we won't be able to do that part of it. We can, of course, verify pumping reports, as I just said. We have all of that information in the database. So if we find that we don't have a pumping report and we need one, we're perfectly able to follow up on those and get what we need. We can inspect and verify portions of lagoon construction. Darren has been able to assist with that last year when we had a gap in EH since Perry was out. He was able to do a little bit with that. So there are some inspections that he can do. We have a pretty good procedure on how to do it. We can, of course, track private well drilling logs. Basically, when somebody wants to drill a new well, they have to, of course, submit a permit to us. The well driller does the drilling, of course, installs the well, and then is supposed to file that information with the state and then send that to us as well. And we can verify that information. And we probably also can verify private well installations. There's a few different pieces we need to, make sure that they sealed everything properly and all of that. Which I think we should be able to do that. Those don't happen as much, but they do happen. So it's important that we're able to take care of those. And so Perry has let, of course, all of the EH contractors that we work with know that, he'll be leaving us. And after our discussion today, I will follow up with all of them and kind of let them know where we are, and how we're going to handle some of these modified processes in the meantime. And that, of course, we are working as hard as we can to get somebody in, even if it's piecemeal. I mentioned a few minutes ago that we both have contacts out there. We have some contacts in the state, the Soil Conservation District, a couple other counties around us. So we do have some hopeful leads out there. Even if we can get somebody to help us with soils, then that kind of would help, move things along here. Even if we have to do it piecemeal, I mean, we certainly will take what we can get until we're able to fill the position. So that's kind of where we are. And what we're going to be dealing with. And I wanted to, of course, have this discussion just to keep you aware, but also in case you folks get any phone calls. So.
Have you talked to KDHE about this? I'm sure you have, and what their suggestions are.
So I know Perry has let them know, of course, that he's, switching positions, and I don't know if they had any suggestions. You mind? Yeah, a few of them Perry reached out to, and a few of them I did, so.
So morning, commissioners, Perry and Piper, and first of all, thanks for the opportunity to work here at Riley County. I really enjoyed my time here and enjoyed the people here. It's a great place to work. I just had an opportunity come along where I can move up and have a promotion to be a program manager and be in charge of several other people and the administrative staff. So as an opportunity I thought I needed to take. But to answer your question, yes, we notified KDHE. Katie Bessio, she's the local environmental protection program manager up there. And she did send out a mass email to all the county sanitarians. So they're aware there's a position open here. Like Amanda said, it's going through NEHA per posting, and then also I got it to post on Kansas Environmental Health Association website. So it's out there. And when I found out I got the job down in Shawnee County, I wanted to give Amanda as much time as possible. So as soon as I found out, I gave her 4 weeks notice that, and I knew there'd be a little gap before they get somebody in here, get them up to speed and stuff. So let's see. Like Amanda said, our code does allow for us to accept a soil profile by a recognized professional. So Amanda has been in contact with I believe Deanne Presley at K-State to see. She's always looking for soil profile tests. She usually calls me in the spring and the fall. She likes to take the class out to some of these, and if the homeowners are agreeable to allowing her and a couple students to come out to do soil profile testing, she will do it, and she is qualified to read the soil. So like I explained to Amanda, I showed her what to look for on the soil profile report, and that determines how to size the system, what type of system is needed. Our code's pretty straightforward because KDHE requires minimum requirements on septic tank size for number of bedrooms on the homes. So I've showed Amanda that, and then sizing the systems, I've gone over that with Amanda. And if she knows the installation loading rate, then she can size the system, a standard system. Alternative systems are a little bit different. Most of those that are going in now are raised bed alternative systems. And she could get some help with that through the manufacturers on sizing it. There is a worksheet, but usually I just send them the information such as percent slope, number of bedrooms, gallons per day per bedroom, and then what the soil loading rate is. Then they will design a spreadsheet and email it back. So I think that's it. The one other person I might know of, I don't know how much time John's got over there. But
John's on here.
Oh, so he's qualified?
I've done some.
Ah,
Not in as much detail as Perry. But I will be honest with you, I didn't do soil. But if we can have a conversation about that and taking notes or having some ideas, maybe we can help us.
and I've told Amanda, feel free to reach out to me if she has questions on sizing the system or anything on that. She's more than welcome to contact me, and I can email her from my job. So no problem.
Okay.
So did you guys have any other questions for me?
No, I was just gonna say, appreciate the time here and good luck to you in your new position.
Thank you.
You'll do good. You'll do good.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
good luck, Barry.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Did you have any other questions for me?
No.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Have a good weekend. Next commissioner, we have Clancy at 11:25.
Hopefully. Oh, there it is.
Hey, Clancy,
Appeared out of nowhere.
Hopefully, doesn't it?
Yeah, no.
you gonna take the whole time?
Well,
Have a time list.
20 minutes, I think will be enough.
20,
20?
okay.
Yeah.
We guessed a half an hour.
Very liberal.
Just being pessimistic.
Yep. Have a couple minutes for a little discussion with planning on legislation. Don't know if the commissioners heard, but I saw on the news, I had staff do some quick research this morning, House Bill 2366. Stating that they're going to allow demand transfers starting in the year of 24, 25, 26, and 27, and 28. Up to 54 million the first 4 or 5 years, and 27 million the year after that in 2028. So that's on there, but what goes hand in hand with that is an election for House Concurrent Resolution 5009. Reduce assessed valuation on residential real property from 11 to 9%. So I think those are a couple ones there. They got all fired up, of course, due to increased valuation notices going out statewide. As well.
Oh, yeah.
With all this.
I just missed the clips where they were talking about it. I just heard the end of it. I thought I understood what they were talking about.
Yeah, and Representative Carlin is part of House Concurrent Resolution 5009 as one of the sponsors. So,
It's limited to 9.
yep. So they go hand in hand. So it'll be interesting to watch those, but you knew something was going to come of
Oh, yeah.
increased valuation. So So what that really does, if that goes forward, the reduction in that percentage is just shoves it over more to commercial and other. It will not change, and it's the only one proposed to change. Works one, but I think it's definitely worth watching both of those.
But the demand transfers, it's only for, it's not a permanent thing, it's just for a couple of years.
The amount of the transfer each date shall be 54 million during fiscal years 24, 25, 26, 27. And the amount of transfer each such date shall be 27 million during the fiscal year 2028 and all fiscal years thereafter.
Oh, okay, that's, I wondered if they were
Like I
tapering
said,
it off,
this,
and that's the last
I just
one.
got Lori on this when she walked in this morning at 7:30, said, hey, when you get started.
Okay.
I haven't seen it, but I heard.
It'll be interesting to see if it's tied to that fund. And that every one of those is from a particular fund that they may or may not pour money into. I mean, that goes with reading the bill and seeing, we'll have to, but I agree, it's absolutely worth watching. There's one other one. Just real quickly, if we don't hit, we may hit 25 after before that. Oh,
You got a minute.
sales tax, 248. The one that eliminates local sales tax on food. Shiloh's spreadsheet, I think you've seen already. I don't know if you've seen the second version, but we can show that with just two classifications, supermarkets and convenience stores in 2022, had that been in effect, Riley County and the 5 small cities would have lost over $1 million.
Yeah.
Just from 2 NAICS classifications. So with your permission, I'd like to draft testimony, written testimony only for the chair's signature, opposing that bill for that reason and plugging in some information from that spreadsheet one way or another. I've got to submit it tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So if the board's okay with that, so consensus to do that. That way I can track down.
We are 11:25. Do we want to make a motion after executive session?
We can,
Sounds good.
we can talk about it then.
I'll be home until about 8 o'clock in the morning, around going to Kansas City. So,
But we can talk
but
about
I'll
it.
be back in late in the afternoon, so it's kind of.
It's got to be submitted by 10:30. And I don't know. We'll see.
The vice chair do it, or
Yeah, it
Or I
can be.
could come by here on my way out of town.
I don't know that it's.
Yeah, I'll be available in the morning if you need to, but
Well, let's talk about it.
it's 11:20.
it is 11:25 though.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move the county commission, including Chairwoman Pokey, Vice Chairman Ford and Commissioner McKinley recess into executive session on potential litigation for the purpose of consultation with Clancy Holman, Riley County Counselor, attorney for the commission, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship and exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The open meeting to resume in the county commission chamber at 11:45 a.m.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to recess into executive session. Returning at 11:45. All in favor?
Aye.
11:45.
Go ahead, move that the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
No second.
And moved and seconded that the board come out of executive session. All in favor? Aye.
Also move that the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with consensus reached in executive session.
No second.
Moved and seconded that consensus was reached during the executive session. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. The only other thing I wanted to touch base on is continuing the discussion I began before the executive session. On Senate Bill 248, I will draft written testimony only. Nobody has to appear on Monday when the hearing takes place. But I would like to have the board's consensus about who's going to sign for the board. And it has to be turned in by 10:30 Friday morning. Doesn't matter to me who signs it, because if it says it's unanimous, that's what you want.
Oh,
Whoever signs it will be representing that this is a unanimous opinion of the board. This is a bad idea.
I actually have a 10 o'clock Zoom or a Microsoft Teams call with KDOT tomorrow. I was going to be down here at 10 anyway, so if you need to leave early, it don't matter.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave about 8:39, something like that. Well, probably 8:30. And I could stop by on the way out of town, but it'd have to be ready and I don't know.
Well, I'd like to say I know for a fact it will be,
Yeah.
but it just depends on what comes up. So that's why I'd like the flexibility to know who is going to sign.
Okay.
Well, John, if you're gonna be here, that's okay with me.
Board okay with that? Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
What time you want me to?
I'll text you.
Okay,
We'll figure it out. I'll be
Okay.
around too. So
sound good. Yeah.
We have to vote on that, or it's just.
you can do
I put
consensus.
consensus, if that's
Yeah.
okay, or if you would prefer vote. it's either
No,
one.
that's-
It's fine.
Thank you. That's all.
Normally I'm around.
Oh, I got you. I got you. The key is.
Normally, I'm not around on Friday, so this is.
No, you're not.
Pace,
No,
yeah.
you're not. The key is it'll say it's unanimous.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting word through my channels that it's probably not gonna go anywhere, but better safe than sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
they seem pretty fired up about it.
They do, but I don't,
The House, the Senate was, but the
Yeah.
House isn't.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard too.
That's what I had heard, Rich.
and you gotta remember where that's originating from on the Senate side.
Yeah, I just kind of wondered, this increased valuation got everyone,
Wanting to do something.
something, so I wondered if sediments wouldn't change.
It seemed like to me, you wouldn't wanna float the boat on the sales tax side, because that only makes that situation worse longer term, but nothing usually ever makes sense out of Topeka, so we'll just.
I wonder if it's gonna start popping up the tax freeze stuff again.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
The what?
All those bills in the past about golden years stuff.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
but that's the reason why we're here. Because there's 8 million different exceptions to everything, and we're just not. I don't think even Topeka is really doing well with that, on their end.
Each individual one seems like a great idea.
I think the thing you have to understand is that, with, this surplus, as they're calling it, a large portion of the surplus isn't through revenue. Large portion of the surplus is federal dollars that, much like we're doing currently, kind of sitting on at this point in time, and it is, I'm sure they're smart enough to put it in interest bearing scenarios or investing scenarios to stretch that out, and when it's gone, eventually it's gone, and then you're back to that same basic component.
But also, it's a sales tax. Oh, we've got more and more coming in. What's it?
It's artificial to a certain extent.
Right now. If they get inflation under control.
I understand the need on the food side of things to a certain extent, but some of the exceptions I'm seeing in there doesn't fit the basic need of why they were doing it to begin with.
Yeah.
So, and you got to remember, if you take that part of it away, then where do you make up the difference at? You're only making the things that we keep talking about not being affordable even more unaffordable. It's like kind of a hamster on a wheel trying to chase a tail that doesn't actually exist. And I just got a bad mental picture of that too.
Yeah, that was ugly.
Yeah, we won't use that one again, sorry.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what they all come for. Yeah, these two today I thought was interesting.
If they continue with that, that might balance that out just a little bit. I mean, at the end of the day, it really should be about the property tax payer, you know, in the state of Kansas. That would kind of balance the equation out and kind of provide a win-win for everybody there, but they have to continue with that demand transfer. What happens 27, 28, when they say, no, we're not going to do that anymore, but it's still going to be at 9%.
Well, and you still got all those exemptions sitting out there.
That's
That's a big
problem.
thing. Yeah.
And all your new businesses and companies that are coming on, that are coming in, have pretty large abatements at this point in time that fits into that dynamic too.
Yeah.
And I'm not
it's-
saying,
It's
you
not
know,
just the
that-
tax on, if those things were more equal than the sales tax on food would not be a big thing, so. But. What's happening with that exemptions bill, you know, competing with the counties. and
Have you heard? I haven't heard anything on it.
No, the only thing I'm aware of on our side is we're still, I believe, I haven't gotten back to Annie yet on this item because I need to find out if they were able to come up with anything to show what kind of impact there was similar. But the easier of those to do was the sales tax because there's classifications
Right.
and we can logically tie it to particular types of business. There isn't that same information. So I don't know. We'll figure out something, but
I don't think they've gone through the list of actual exemptions that carries. The one right now is just gyms competing and.
Gyms, childcare.
Right.
6 or 8 things.
there was a list of categories of business.
But it still
I don't
wasn't,
know how you get restaurants. You think that-
Well, I think how they're doing it, I think is part of Commissioner Director Pete's presentation yesterday. You know, instead of us outsourcing for that service, we have 3 cooks.
Oh,
You know, and I think those are the little things that
Yep.
they say.
well, I'd
Same
say-
thing with schools, you know, they could outsource, give it to a business, so.
Oh, yeah.
It's
well,
a stretch, but that's what I think they're
Yeah,
using.
that's-
They will, and they
Yeah.
will stretch it, but those people will stretch it, but they can't.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing. I wish he would have added one addition. He didn't really touch on yesterday's presentation. He said about the 80-20 split, and he said facilities, but really emphasized that Riley County
How
pays for
much?
all facilities and everything related to inmate costs, you know, and
Lori and I were talking about that at the other end of the table.
yeah.
What about pharmaceuticals?
Uh-huh. He did a good job. I just
Yeah, he
think,
did.
you know,
Well, he's on a learning curve too. I
He
mean, on that kind of detail.
I didn't have anything else specifically. I did want to talk about the animal control thing, but that's gonna come up in the city county meeting, so we'll just leave it for that. I do think that we need to have larger conversation, particular on the licensure. That's not a winning proposition for the county.
It'll
I
be-
laughed. I saw Commissioner Ford rolling his eyes. It's just no enforcement.
I mean, I'm a dog pet type of person too, and I feel like you're discouraging people at that point in time from getting pets by doing that. It's just kind of one of those things that's unnecessary to me.
Well, and even related to that, vaccination for cats.
Yes,
I don't vaccinate my cat because he never goes out. And he's
Yeah,
not
well,
around over
no,
there.
I don't know about no one, but I'll bet 0.0% are the only ones that vaccinate their cats out in the rural part of the county.
What
in
about
fact, most of their
chickens?
cats are out and about
They
catching
carry
probably
the
anything
big
possible to
bad
begin with.
Influenza, yeah, avian flu.
Yeah, let's vaccinate chickens while we're at it. So,
Yeah,
no, I'm just being silly, but
Only aggressive chickens. This will be on next Thursday.
okay.
So Craig's not available Monday, but we'll see it again in
That's fair.
time. And he'll be on, we're gonna put it on for half hour.
Yeah, I knew this subject would take some time
Yeah.
to discuss.
Yeah,
because it
that's why we
does
broke
get
it down the way we did.
convoluted.
You can't do it in one meeting.
I mean, in terms of how we're listing everything else and how we're going through the, I guess, discipline protocols and stuff for it looked fine to me, but we don't need to have all the unnecessary stuff. We don't need to add basically what's potentially another service to the clerk's department to me that's not necessary.
Kind of state law, it's already there already,
Yeah.
but the thing is, no one.
does it?
And once again, how do we enforce, how do we enforce that on the county side?
Yeah, unless we
Just commit resources to it or not. I mean, that's why you're getting it back.
Right.
Not to say this is what we need to do. This is
No.
what the committee came up with.
Right.
Yeah, unless they hire another animal control person, just drive through the county and stop at everybody's house.
Do you have a dog? Do you have a cat?
Yeah.
Do you have one of these lists of exotic pests?
That would be a high risk job.
Kidding. Oh, I'm not, yeah. It's about like,
Eric, want a promotion?
Nope.
yeah, that's,
Stick with IT, you're better off.
Campaigning, some
Yeah.
of the dogs would come after that. I know that, well, I think that we need to discuss in the future is like, on this task force, people are calling and saying we want to be on it. How many people do we want to put on that task force for fair?
Well, they're gonna discuss that at the Rural Economic Development Committee meeting next, whenever that is, next Wednesday.
But that isn't really their decision. It's.
They're providing some insight.
Insight.
Right now, we have no insight, no nothing, so let's see
what they think.
right, and then
How many?
kind of develop it from there.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Like I said, that all kind of popped up kind of quick, but it's gonna have to pop up kind of quick, I guess. And there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of interest in Seco Park at this point in time, and in fact, if you want,
Related to that.
yes, I can send the set of drawings that I have from Anderson Knight, and you can pass them along to them, and
Yeah. if
For
that
a
be-
I'll
new-
do that.
For a new proposal.
You'll just have to look at it.
Okay,
Yeah, you'll just have to look at it.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. I can send it over there.
Yeah,
Okay.
people are already reading ahead in the crystal ball. If the county does this, then that opens up
We're gonna
this.
take over, everybody's gonna take over.
It's probably worth a lot of money, like these,
We'll say we can sell to the city if they want.
for the school.
Or whoever.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
Hold that thought.
And then be one way to fund a move to
Yeah,
somewhere
well,
else.
that's, yeah.
Yeah,
That's was part of Friday's discussion.
Remember, that's how we did the shop site, the old
Right.
shop site. I mean, it didn't fund the whole shop site, but that helped, a chunk of money.
Yeah.
so.
Thing I would say on that before I send it is. I think the intent behind what's being proposed is actually very good. It's very good. It solves a couple of needs for a couple other entities outright. So, yeah. And that's all I got.
Me too.
Okay.
You have
Had a
anything?
long morning, so I'll go ahead and make a motion that we during the March 9th meeting of the Riley County Commission.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded that we adjourn the March 9th meeting.